Good morning, colleagues. Good morning, SSPs. Am I audible enough? I'm seeing your hand is up.
Yes, you are audible, Chair.
Right, thank you. Colleagues, SSPs, welcome to our webinar on regulations relating to registrations of students in respect. I am the registrations manager at SACSSP. We want to acknowledge the attendance of all the SSPs that have managed to join the webinar for today. We would like to acknowledge registrants or SSPs from higher education and training institutions that have managed to join, the SSPs themselves, all the student social workers, student social auxiliary workers, student child and youth care workers, and student auxiliary child and youth care workers, employers, if we have them in our midst, professional associations, if also we have them in our midst. I think SSP staff, the secretariat at SACSSP that have also managed to join the webinar for today. Colleagues, we are now saying the webinar is officially opened. We would like to say, let us educate one another. Let us assist our sector. Act stipulates, and how we're going to do that is by us attending those webinars, scheduling them as SACSSP, and expect that as social service, as SACSSP, and expecting that SSPs, social service practitioners in all the categories, will then attend, so that then we can be able to grow and take the relationship forward. And by that doing, we will be also addressing all the challenges during the webinar. Colleagues, colleagues, thank you. I was going to be allowed to speak or to present items in the webinar. We will also further like to acknowledge all council members that have managed to join as well in the webinar for today. So with that said, we are all welcome. Let's have a fruitful webinar today going. It's always up to date and up to so far, up to par with all the requirements. We are now done with the opening and welcome, colleagues. We will then hand over to Ms. Lamula to do the attendance. Thank you.
Good day, colleagues. My name is Audrey Lamola. Apologies for the echo. It's going to be sorted now. Once again, greetings, colleagues. My name is Audrey Lamola. And my task in this program is to confirm the attendance. In terms of the attendance, Council is proud to report that we have not received any apologies from the extended invitation that has gone out to the higher education in the field of child and youth care, to the employers of the social service professions, and to the professional association in the social service sector. We are happy that we have this amount of attendance, and thank you for that. And to the SSPs that are attending, we kindly ask that those that are sharing the gadget, you are using one laptop, kindly indicate your particulars in the chat, because we'd like to see who attended. And in terms of extending your charts, kindly give each other a chance so that each person can be able to load think my part is done in that regard of the attendance. Thank you, colleagues. I'll hand over to the program director.
Thank you, Ms. Lamola. SSPs, I hope that record your particulars in the chat box for keeping the register. Kindly mute for the whole duration of the presentations so that then we can be able to hear one another. It was just to emphasize the muting, colleagues. We would now move with the program for today. We will request Ms. Betty Mukwena, the acting manager, to clearly indicate why we are gathered today, the reason behind this gathering for today. Thank you. Over to you, Ms. Mukwena.
Thank you, Program Director. My name is Betty Mukwena, as indicated. I will be giving the purpose of this webinar. The purpose of this webinar is to present to the SSPs the regulation relating to registration of students in respect of which professional boards have been established. We are kindly requested to sit back, relax, and listen to the presentation that will be done and ask questions at the end of the presentation. Thank you. Enjoy the webinar. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you, Sis Betty. Now we are moving. I think we are still doing great in terms of time. We are still doing okay, SSPs. The acting registrar to do the presentations on the regulations on registrations of students in respect of which professional boards are established or have been established. Colleagues, it is a request about the presentations so that we can hear one another, so that we can learn, we can clarify, we can also improve on the knowledge that we are supposed to be having as the SSPs. So colleagues, now is the one that we're going to maintain up until the presentation is done. To those that have recently joined, welcome to our webinar, because we are noticing as well that the numbers is rising, it's increasing as per webinar. Those that have recently joined, can you kindly mute? And if you are sharing, can you kindly indicate that as well in the chat box as and when you are recording your name and the attendance for us to keep a clear attendance register for this webinar. So if please record your attendance in the chat box, and also for those that are sharing to ensure that they do submit their particulars and indicate that they're sharing a gadget with a fellow colleague, so that then we can keep that and do not miss any attendees of the webinar. With that said, can we then allow the acting registrar to come and present or join us in presenting a critical part of our webinar for today? Acting registrar, over to you.
Thank you, Program Director. Good morning, colleagues.
and the employers of social service professionals, colleagues from the institutions of higher learning, and colleagues from the Secretariat, members of council, and members of the professional board for social work and the professional board for child and youth care work. I greet you all. My name is Hitler Sikitla. I'm a social worker, and compliments to those who have not met this year or greeted each other this year. Firstly, Program Director, let me thank you for the coordination of this webinar. It's one of the historic webinars that we committed to facilitate or to coordinate so that we try to close the gap between the SACSSP and the sector. So today we are focusing on our student social workers, student social auxiliary workers, and student child and youth care workers. The part of the purpose, just to add on what the acting ETD manager has said, is that we want to empower our students, we want to empower training providers, we also want to empower employers of social service professionals who are critical, by the way, in ensuring that they do offer placement for our students. So part of this webinar is to empower you, and so that we demand quality service from the SACSSP. There are certain things, colleagues, that we cannot compromise on, and this talks to the issue of the timeous registrations of our students, so that by the time they start or they commence with their practicums, they are in possession of registration certificates and practice cards, so that amongst others, we are able to hold them accountable the minute they are registered with us and the minute they start with practicums. So that's part of the purpose of this workshop, to say, but what are the regulations? What is the law saying as far as the mandate of council is concerned, as far as the registrations of student and social service professionals in general? Council, what is your responsibility? What is your mandate? So we want to talk to that, so that we ensure that we hold each other accountable, but also, in addition to that, also clarify or explain what are the roles and responsibilities of our students, institutions of higher learning, and employers of social service professionals. So that is part, in addition, of the purpose of this particular webinar. Program Director, when Ms. Lamola was doing the attendance, I guess she indicated the issue that colleagues must also populate their registration numbers in the chat bar for the purpose of attendance, so that we have their records for the purpose of issuing the certificate of attendance as far as CPD points are concerned. So we kindly request that colleagues populate their registration numbers, those who are registered with the SACSSP, and also their email addresses, so that we are able to reach them as and when we need to issue out the certificate of attendance. But also emphasis that must be put that we also indicate from the institution or an organization where you are coming from, so that we have those records as well. So thanks very much, Program Director, up to this far. As I've indicated, the presentation will focus on the regulations on the registrations of student social workers, student social auxiliary workers, and student child and youth care workers. But before I do that, Program Director, we must also congratulate our Bafana Bafana. So they are representing us well at the African Nations Cup in the Ivory Coast country, or Côte d'Ivoire, those who call it Côte d'Ivoire. So we managed to beat Morocco last night 2-0, so to advance to the next stage. So I'm raising this issue because sometimes, colleagues, we take these matters for granted, and forgetting that some of these players, or all those players, they are our family members, they are our friends, and so forth. So we need to congratulate them and continue to perform our national duties in terms of supporting our national teams as and when they compete with the world or with the continent in this particular competition of the African Nations Cup. The brief history of the SACSSP. We are a statutory body established in terms of Section 2 of the Social Service Professions Act. And it was around 1942 that a group of social workers made representation for the establishment of a professional control in social work. Years went by and the engagements took place, and around September 1978, a new act was assented or approved and assented called the Social and Associated Workers Act 110 of 1978. And the first statutory council for the profession of social work, called the Council for Social and Associated Workers, took place on the 18th of January 1980. So we can look at the gap, colleagues, in terms of the period that colleagues at that particular time were social workers or our forebearers who have been in the struggle for many years to ensure that we have this statutory body and a profession called social work, and also child and youth care work today. Can see the many years that they took. They were patient to ensure that today we have this statutory body. From 1942, you can see until 1978, from 1978 to 1980. It is a long period for people to wait and continue to push and push until they ensure that we have a statutory body that regulates our professions within the social service sector. Now, in 1989, the Act was amended and the Council's name changed to the South African Council for Social Work. And in 1998, the Social Work Amendment Act 102 of 1998 brought about several changes. And one of the changes, it led to the change of the name of the Act. That's where the Act called the Social and Associated Workers Act, it changed to Social Service Professions Act, hence we are calling it today the Social Service Professions Act 110 of 1978. And the name change took place in April 1999. Then the name, the SACSSP, which is a statutory body as we know it, was constituted on the 8th of June 1999. And I was saying to colleagues to say, if we follow this history, basically the SACSSP will be turning 25 years old on the 8th of June 1999, which is basically this year, not 1999. We are turning 25 years this year on the 8th of June, and something that needs to be celebrated. And when this statutory was established or constituted, it also makes provision for the establishment of the professional boards. And as you are aware, we are having two professional boards, the one for social work, which also include social auxiliary workers, and also have the professional board for child and youth care workers. And currently, we are in the process of establishing the professional board for community development practitioners. Now, the Social Service Professions Act is divided into 4 chapters. Chapter 1 deals with the establishment of the statutory body, which runs from Section 1 to Section 40. And Chapter 2 deals with the registrations of social service professionals, and this is where we're going. The core part of our presentation is on. We are going to focus mainly on Section 17, capital letter A, Section 18, which deals with the registrations of social auxiliary workers. If you go to Section 18, capital letter B, it deals with the registrations of students of other professions. So it basically talks about the registrations of child and youth care workers. And when you go back to Section 17, capital letter A, it talks to the registrations of student social workers. We'll also briefly touch on the Chapter 3, which deals with disciplinary powers of the Council, which is provided for in Section 21 and Section 23 of this particular Act, and Chapter 4 deals with the general profession. Now, when you go to Chapter 3 of this Act, we talk to the disciplinary powers of Council. It basically shows that the extent to which our professions are regulated, and the extent to which the student registrations are regulated, because they can also be held accountable as far as their conduct is concerned. And we will unpack it when we focus on the specific regulations. Now, this is the structure of the SACSSP. At the top, we're having council there, the two professional boards on the extreme left. We are having Section 9 committee, which is the ESCOM. We are having Section 10 committees, which amongst others include the registrations committee, which is the responsibility is to oversee registrations matters. We are having the committee of preliminary inquiry, which is the committee that is responsible for the conducting of investigation into allegations of unprofessional conduct against social service professionals, including students. And on the right or extreme right, they were having the registrar and administration, and we are called the secretariat. Then these are some of the governance committees of council, Section 10, from finance to education, training and development. So these are some of the committees or members of council and the professional boards whom we've elected as social service professionals, and the other portion or have been appointed by the Minister of Social Development. So they serve on this committee. So as members, they serve at the level of council, professional boards, and these committees, and also the professional boards committees, which are established in terms of the regulation 25 of the regulations regarding the functioning of the professional boards. So in future, if you are interested to become a council member or a member of the professional board, these are some of the committees which you will be serving on. Now, what is the mandate of council, which is provided for in Section 3 of the Social Service Professions Act? If you go to paragraph F, we have the mandate to determine the qualification for registrations of social service professionals. So basically the mandate, the core mandate, that we call it a registration. When you go to paragraph G, we are responsible for regulating the practicing of the professions in respect of which professional boards have been established and the registrations thereof. And paragraph H, we are responsible for determining the standard of professional conduct of social workers, student social workers, social auxiliary workers, child and youth care workers, and student child and youth care workers. So in brief, our core mandate is divided into three, which is education and training, registration, and professional conduct. But if you go to Section 3, or if you went through Section 3, you see that there are other core mandates that we need to perform as far as the administration of this statutory body is concerned. But if somebody asks you, what is this statutory doing? We are responsible for regulating matters as far as education and training is concerned, registrations and professional conduct. It is not the mandate of council colleagues to deal with issues as far as the conditions of social service professionals are concerned. That mandate is provided for in the Labour Relations Act. However, somewhere where we get an opportunity, we do advocate for the issues affecting our social service professionals. But if you were to hold us accountable in terms of what we need to deliver, this is the core mandate of council in terms of what we need to do on a daily basis. Now, when you go to Section 14, capital letter A, it talks to the establishment of professional boards. As I've indicated that we have two professional boards, and their powers or the objects thereof of professional boards is to control and exercise authority in respect of training of our social service professionals, in respect of which professions within which the professions we have established professional boards. And secondly, to determine the minimum standards of education and training, and also to maintain and enhance the dignity and integrity of the professions, and also guide the professions falling within our ambit in order to protect members of the public who are the beneficiaries of social services. Now, when you want to read more on the general powers of the professional boards, please refer to Section 14, capital letter C of the Social Service Professions Act. Now, to give effect to the objects of council and the objects of the professional boards, as far as the registrations of student social workers, student social auxiliary workers, and student child and care workers is concerned, Council made the following regulations. We're having the regulations regarding the registrations of student social workers and the holding of disciplinary inquiry. Now, we deliberately put the number of these particular regulations, colleagues, so that you need to access them. If you can go to the website, you can access them. If you go to Google, you can access them. But if you are struggling, you can request the registrations division, in particular the registration secretary, to email you this particular regulations. The second regulations is with regard to the registrations of social auxiliary workers and the holding of disciplinary inquiries. The third one is the regulations for child and youth care workers, auxiliary child and youth care workers, and student child and youth care workers. So service provider or training providers need to be in possession of these regulations because they assist you in terms of to understand what are the requirements for the registrations of students, and also at what point are students supposed to register, what is it that they need to submit, and in between, what is it that we need to submit to the SACSSP. Now, when we go to focus firstly on the regulations regarding the registrations of the student social workers, first we focus on the definition. So the regulations define a provider as a recognized and accredited body that delivers the learning programs focused on the achievement of specified NQF registered qualification and standards on the SACSSP database, and manages the assessment of learning achievement or prior to the existence of SACSSP, a body recognized to the council for this purpose. Now, you need to be a recognized and accredited body before you can be declared to be a training provider of a student social workers. So in this case, you must be a university, where to put it that way, an institution of higher learning to be able to provide a sort of qualification in social work for the purpose of this person to go through that journey, and they complete their studies and they become a registered social workers at a particular board. Now, if you go further, then the regulation 2 talks to the registrations requirement. What are the requirements for registrations of a student social work? And a student in the subject of social work at a provider in South Africa or the Republic of South Africa from his or her second year of study, who in any whatsoever is involved with social work learning in real life situation, shall register as a student social worker with the council. So basically the requirement is that all student social workers must register with council from second year of study. Now, there's contradictions, colleagues, those who have read or who have gone through the regulations regarding relating to the fees payable by social service professionals, which were published last year, June. Yeah, it talks about the registrations of student social workers from their first year. So that is the contradiction, colleagues. And the regulation that will take precedent is this one, that student social workers must register from their second year of study. So wanted to clarify that contradictions if you have already picked it up. Now, sub-regulation 2 provides that approval can be given by the council to a social work student from outside the country who wishes to do his or her experiential learning in the country to register with the SACSSP as a student social work. Now, basically, it says if somebody studying outside any university outside the country, studying social work, they can come into the country during their 4th year as for the purpose of doing their practicums. And those people, they must be registered with the SACSSP, because you cannot be at the level of 4th year and do practicals or practicums as a student social worker while you are not registered with us. So you need to register with us, and those are the conditions that you must comply with, or that person should comply with, in that person must submit documentary proof acceptable to the professional board for social work that he or she is enrolled for social work study at a training institutions in his or her own country of origin and pay the prescribed fees, and this is the registration fees. So it is allowed any person who outside the country can come and do practicals in South Africa. However, they must be registered with us. Now, Regulation 3, talks to the application for registrations. A student social worker must apply for registration on or before the 1st March of the year of start, which is in this case, the 2nd year. So the principle that we're trying to do, colleagues, is that we need to adhere to this date to ensure that all student social workers are registered by the 31st of March 2024. Those who might have accessed who are accessing our general notices, you might have noticed that in the past 2 weeks we've issued a general notice, and that general notice talks to the issue that we will be doing a registration drive in all the universities across the country, in terms of universities that are providing a qualification in social work. You are aware of those particular dates. So the message that we are appealing to you to spread, to say, please spread those dates to everyone who will need the services as far as the SACSSP is concerned, in particular registration services, because when we are out there, we will not be limiting our services to only registrations of students. Our target is the students who have completed their studies last year, who must register as social workers, and also student social workers at 2nd year level, and those that might have fell between the cracks in the past years and are still not yet registered. So we need to target those, and we'll also service any social service professionals who may need registration services. So this is what we'll be doing this week and next week until beginning of March. So the emphasis is that we need to reach the target. So as stakeholders, we need to work together to ensure that we reach the target and ensure that everyone who needs to be registered as a student social worker is registered and be issued with a registration certificate and a practice card come 31st March 2024. Now, sub-regulation 2 provide that such application shall be accompanied by. So these are the documents that will be needed as and when we do the registration. So a certified copy of documentary proof acceptable to the council of the applicant's name, identity, or residence permit number and date of birth. So basically it's an ID copy. Or those who are coming outside South Africa, they need to submit the passports, the permits, and so forth, so that they ensure that they meet the requirements. We can verify that indeed they are in South Africa legally and they are duly registered with their particular institutions, and they can register as student social workers. Paragraph B, the applicant's original academic record, the provider indicating the subject and number of years courses passed in each subject, as well as those for which he or she is enrolled. So basically, is the academic record will show we will show the modules that they've completed at their first level, and probably if the academic record is ready in terms of the modules that they've registered now, is still welcome. So you see why we are saying the contradiction between the regulations regarding the registrations of student social workers and the provision that is contained in the regulations relating to fees payable by social service professionals. So if we need an academic record, surely a person who's registering at first year will not have a full academic record. It can only reflect the modules that they've registered for this year. Hence, we are saying let's put emphasis on these regulations in terms of registering a student from second year, because we know at least they've completed their first level of their studies. Then paragraph C talks to a certified copy of the marriage certificate of women who are married and whose surnames have changed, and the prescribed registration fee. So the registration fee for student social workers is 262, and is provided for in the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals, which were published or gazetted last year, June. So we recall that last year we were running the webinars on those regulations. We want to believe that everyone is familiar with those regulations by now. Sub-regulation 3, paragraph A provides that a person who has abandoned his or her study in social work and who wishes to resume his or her studies in social work shall, after a period of 3 years has lapsed since such an abandonment, apply again for registration as a student social worker and pay the registration fee as prescribed. So if a student abandons their studies and after a period of 3 years, they must re-register or reapply and get to be registered, and they must pay the registration fee. A person who cannot be registered as a social worker in terms of the Act and who wishes to enroll for a basic qualification in social work shall register on or before the 31st March of the first year of such study as a student social worker and pay the prescribed fee for such registration. And sub-regulation 4, it provides that any document that must accompany the application concerned and that is not drawn up in English shall be accompanied by a translation prepared by a sworn translator in English. So let's say, for example, some of your documents are written in Afrikaans or they are written in another language, foreign language. For example, they need to be translated in English, and there must be a certified copy of the original, and the owner shall be on the applicant to have such documents so translated. So basically, the applicant must incur the cost of the related, which are related to the translation thereof. Now, regulation 4, sub-regulation 1 talks to registration certificate that the registrar must issue to every student social worker a certificate of registration. So this is one of the points that we wanted to emphasize, that at the point of registration, we must issue a student social workers with the registration certificate, which will go together with the practice card. So it's very important, colleagues, to ensure that as and when our students they go for field work, they are in possession of their practice card. Sometimes it might not be easy to carry the registration certificate throughout, but this is also to ensure that we protect our profession, colleagues, because you might find that the community members, they don't know, they can't differentiate between a social worker and a person who just love to service people in the community. And there are people who sometimes regard themselves social workers in the community while they are not registered with the SACSSP. So we need to differentiate and assist people to distinguish, to say, for you to be regarded as a student social worker, you must be registered. For you to be regarded as a social worker, you must be registered, and you must produce a practice card or a registration certificate accompanied by a relevant practice card, by the way, because the practice card goes together in terms of the financial years. So we need to work hard, colleagues, as stakeholders, to ensure that our student social workers, they are in possession of their registration certificate on time this year and going forward. Now, regulation 9 of the regulations regarding the registration of student social workers provides that it talks to the change of name and change of residential and postal address. So it puts an obligation on the student social worker who is registered with us to notify the registrar in writing within 3 months of any change of name and supply supporting evidence thereof. Further to that, after notifying the registrar in writing, to also talk in the event where you change your residential or your postal address, you must inform the registrar or notify the registrar within 6 weeks. So in terms of the change of name, is within 3 months, and in terms of the change of the residential and the postal address, you need to notify the registrar within 6 weeks of such change having taken place. Then sub-regulation 2 talks to, upon receipt of that particular notice, The registrar must ensure that we update your details in the registrar, which we keep in terms of Section 19. Now, the challenge is that, colleagues, if we do not comply with this regulation, in particular Regulation 9, is that you change your email addresses, you change your contact details, you change your name. When we need to issue communication, we can't reach you. When we issue, for example, there's a complaint against you by your university or a complaint by the university against a student. Now we need to serve the student with the notice of that particular complaint so that we give you an opportunity to respond. Now we can't find you. When the minute you have a complaint and we investigate, the regulation says in the event you are not cooperating and you are not participating in the processes, council may proceed with that particular investigation until the level of a disciplinary inquiry in your absence, because we issue communication based on the contact details that we keep in terms of the register. So it's important, colleagues, that our student social workers update their contact details and notify us accordingly. Regulation 10 talks to the provision of name list. This regulation 9 now puts a responsibility on the providers, which are institutions of learning and training providers. It provides that every provider shall submit to the register on or before 31st July of every year a list with the full name and year of study of every student in social work in respect of all students all students from their second year of study who are enrolled as such training institutions on 1st May of that particular year. So it's very, very, very much important, colleagues. We need this particular records because currently the minimal compliance as far as the universities or institutions of higher learning are concerned and training providers. So we need to ensure that you provide us with this information in line with the timeframes that have been prescribed. B, all student social workers who abandoned their study during the previous 12 months, specifying the date of abandonment. My apologies there in terms of the typo should be the date, not the state, the date of abandonment. So when a student social worker abandons throughout their course of studies, you need to provide us with their names of those people and the date on which they abandoned their studies. Now, C, all student social workers who temporarily abandoned their study during the previous 12 months and specifying the reasons for such temporary abandonment and the date on which student concerned expect to resume their study. So here we're talking about a person who informed the university that it appears that I won't be able to proceed with my study this year because of the 1, 2, 3, and you need to specify those reasons and indicate to say by when that student is intending to come back or resume with their studies. All students who, after temporary abandonment of their study, resumed their study during the previous 12 months, specifying the date of resumption. So basically saying when they come back, those who temporarily abandoned their studies, when they come back, you need to inform council. E, all student social workers who during the previous 12 months obtained their qualification. So basically, now it says you need, after everyone has completed their qualification, you need to provide us with a list of those student social workers who have completed, so that you also monitor in terms of the people who have registered from second year until the exit level, so that we can also monitor the numbers in terms of how many actually go through and how many actually fall through between the cracks and what are the reasons, so that, because council must come in between and do an investigation as to why are our students dropping out, or is it as a result of a failure rate or because of people's personal reasons and so forth. Those are some of the issues that we need to pay attention to and not just take them as numbers to say, oh, we're having thousands of students across the country registered. We don't care about that particular one student who dropped out or who abandoned their studies. It's our responsibility as stakeholders to make follow-up to ensure why did you drop, what kind of support do you need, so that as stakeholders we support them and ensure that at some point they come back, continue to study, and become a registered social worker. So that's part of the reasons why we need this information, colleagues. Now, when you go to Regulation 11, disclosure, Program Director kindly request the colleague who's speaking to mute his or her mic until we finish the presentation. Regulation 11 talks to the disclosure of criminal offences that every person applying for registration as a student social worker and has been convicted of a criminal offence must disclose that offence to the SACSSP. So normally we do it at the point of applying for registration. The application form has the paragraph that talks to disclosure of criminal offence. So an applicant must disclose if they have a criminal offence, so that we make a determination as to whether this person is fit and proper to can register as a student social work. So you don't have to find yourself after you've completed your studies and you register as a social worker, then council tells you that you can't register because we have a criminal offence, and in terms of the nature of this offence is of a serious nature that you cannot be declared as a fit and proper person to can register as a social worker, and you've wasted 4 years, and also the monies that you have spent as far as your studies is concerned is going down the drain. Now you have to go back and forth and try to see what can you do as far as your life is concerned. So it's important to disclose. And further to that, the regulations provide that all providers must inform the SACSSP of the outcome of any criminal offense, because it might happen that in the middle of their studies, students find themselves involved in criminal activities and so forth. So it's the responsibility of the institutions where you are aware, because sometimes you might not be aware, the student might not inform you. Where you are aware, you inform council so that we know as far as that particular student, so we can flag that particular student on our register, so that, or deal with the matter there and then. Or if it's a process where the person has disappeared, or when they come back, then we know where do we need to start with this particular person. We need to do the fit and proper test to determine as to whether this person is a fit and proper person to can register as a student social worker. And some others may leave your university or go to another institution and not disclose. They continue practicing or registering, and at the time that they complete their studies, chances are we might find them, we need to take them through the fit and proper test. So that is the purpose of this particular regulation 11 as far as the disclosure of criminal offense is concerned. And when you go to regulation 12, that talks to disciplinary inquiries, as I've indicated, that student social workers can be held accountable as far as their conduct is concerned in relation to their rules relating to the act or omission which shall constitute unprofessional conduct on the side of a social worker, a social auxiliary worker, and a student social worker. So we are having the regulations regarding the conducting of inquiries into alleged unprofessional conduct. So these regulations are applicable to student social workers, and also the rules relating to the acts or omissions which are applicable. So we are applying these rules and the regulations to investigate student social workers who are found wanting during the period of their study. So basically, these regulations put an obligation on training providers as and when there are allegations of unprofessional or improper conduct against student social workers. It is your responsibility to report those allegations so that council can investigate. And we must commend most of the universities they do. In the past 5 years or so, we've conducted several investigations against student social workers, in particular those who are involved in plagiarism, falsifying reports, and taking the work of other students and present it as theirs. And also those, one of the challenges that we experience with some of the students is those who they falsify reports as far as individual case work is concerned, group work and community work. In one case, we had a student social worker who compiled a community project report while he was not visiting the community. Then you ask yourself, then how did it happen? Then the other question is that where was the supervisor the student supervisor, and also at the institution, and also the supervisor in that particular organization. Where were we during that particular period that this student can end up compiling a false report so that he can go through and pass. So those are some of the challenges that we are experiencing. However, there are regulations and rules that we can use to enforce and ensure that our students are held accountable for their conduct. Because if we allow them to go through the system, colleagues, the chances are you are producing a social worker who's going to give us problems throughout their career as social workers. So let's not allow students who are engaging in unprofessional or improper conduct to go through the system, because the minute they start practicing, others, they even venture into private practice, which is currently not regulated, then we are going to run into trouble, because that they will continue with their conduct and no one will know about them, and few might know that, hey, we need to report this person at council. So it's our plea, colleagues, to ensure that we are strict in terms as far as the conduct of our student is concerned, and hold them accountable, young as they are. Because I once had one lecturer called me, wanted to report a complaint. So she took me through the allegations. Then I said, yo, this is a serious matter. But then she says to me, but we need to go through this, because if we go through this, it might destroy that particular student. Then my question to her was, if we don't hold him accountable and he goes through the system, what about members of the public whom this person is going to service when he completes his social work degree? The harm that this person might cause is so huge, or the possible harm and the risk is so huge as compared to him, us stopping him there and there to say you cannot continue because you cannot identify yourself as a student social worker or a social worker in the manner that you are behaving. So we just need to be strict police and apply the rules as they are and the regulations as they are, and every person must be held accountable as far as their conduct is concerned. But our intention is not to say we want to ensure that all cases go into disciplinary inquiries. Only those matters that have merits and the allegations are of a serious nature definitely show they must go through disciplinary inquiries, and we hold that person accountable. And by the way, in the event a student social worker is being deregistered, it's not for life. The Act makes provision for a person to re-register after their names have been removed from the register. But one of the tests that we need to apply when they come back to re-register, we need to ensure and check as to whether they've been rehabilitated. So it's not deregistration is not for life, colleagues. Even in particular with social workers, social auxiliary workers, and child workers, you can come back after several years or so and reapply and say, no, I'm rehabilitated. Then council will take you through a particular test to determine that indeed you are rehabilitated. So I'm basically saying let's not fear to take actions and necessary actions against people who are doing wrong things with the fear that no, it might destroy their career. It's not about that. It's about just simply applying the law and protecting the profession and the beneficiaries of social service professionals. Now, that's what the regulations as far as student social workers are concerned. Colleagues, we're going to go into the regulations regarding the registrations of student social workers, which are contained, the provisions are contained in the regulations regarding the registrations of social auxiliary workers. Again, if you go to regulation 1, as far as definitions are concerned, the definition of a provider is there. Allow me not to repeat it, but just to emphasize. If you go to you'll see, or you might have noticed that in the regulations regarding student social workers, it does not provide a definition of a student social worker. But the difference between the two in these regulations for social auxiliary workers, it defines what is a student social auxiliary workers to mean a person who is registered with the SACSSP on condition that he or she completes the necessary qualification in order to meet the requirements for registration. Now, when you go to regulation 3, which talks to conditional registration. So for student social auxiliary workers colleagues, they are conditionally registered as social auxiliary workers for a particular purpose, because they are going through a particular learning process which is different from a student social work. Then the regulation provides that when a person commences with social auxiliary work education and training at a provider, and for the full duration of the training, a person must be registered conditionally with the SACSSP and comply with the following conditions. Subparagraph 1, the person must be enrolled as a student social auxiliary worker with a provider. The education, training, and guidance must be conducted by and under the supervision of a social worker with at least 2 years of social work experience. So these are the two conditions for the conditional registration of a social auxiliary worker, which we call that person a student social auxiliary worker. Then the minute that they complete their qualification, the conditional registration will fall off, and now they must be registered as what we call as social auxiliary workers, subject that they are meeting the requirements. So that is the difference between student social workers and student social auxiliary workers. Because normally people ask to say, why the conditional registration? Again, that conditional registration is subject to you fulfilling or successfully completing that particular qualification, so that we can call you a social auxiliary worker. Now, what I could not find in the regulations regarding the registration of social auxiliary workers, in particular for the registration of student social auxiliary workers, it does not prescribe the time frame within which that they must register. Because with student social workers, they must register by the 31st of March of their second year of their stand. Now we can take it, colleagues, to say at least we can borrow from that particular provision and also say student social auxiliary workers, they must also register by the 31st of March each year, starting with this particular year. So the mandate or the directive that we've issued to registrations division is to ensure that everyone who is regarded or supposed to be a student, either as a social student, social worker, social auxiliary, or child in care, they must be registered colleagues by the 31st of March this year. Now we go to Regulation 13, the change of name and change of residential and postal address. The same provisions that are contained as far as the regulations for registrations of student social worker also apply, in that within 3 months you must inform the registrar in writing of the change of the name, and within 6 months you must inform the registrar as far as the change of residential and postal addresses are concerned. You go to Regulation 14, disciplinary inquiries, in that the social auxiliary worker or student social auxiliary workers, they can also be held, they must be held accountable in the event they engage in unprofessional or improper conduct incidents, and you apply the regulations regarding the conducting of inquiries into alleged unprofessional conduct. And the same applies the rules relating to the act or omission of a social worker, a student social worker, or a student social auxiliary worker who shall constitute unprofessional or improper conduct shall apply to a student social auxiliary worker. So again, when they engage in wrongdoing, as far as when they are practicing, colleagues, it is your responsibility as the provider and also the employers, in terms of those who are where the student is working, student social auxiliary worker is working, to report those incidents to council so that they can be investigated. And investigation, colleagues, does not mean that a person's name will be removed from the register. An investigation basically says, one, there are allegations against your name. The Audi Alteram Patem rule must apply, that we must give you an opportunity to tell your side of the story, so that there are allegations. What are you saying? What is your defense against this particular allegation? That's the first part of the investigation. And where we find that there's prima facie evidence of unprofessional conduct on the part of that particular student, then we must determine as to whether the contravention is there contravention of the rules relating to act or omission. Is the contravention of a serious nature or minor? If it's minor, then we can do Regulation 8, which is a semi-disciplinary inquiry where the maximum penalty which may be imposed against that student is a warning, or if the allegations are of a serious nature, that the matter must be referred for a disciplinary inquiry, and it gets to reach that particular level, the maximum penalty that may be imposed against that particular student, it will be a warning, suspension for a particular period, a fine of not more than 5,000, or removal of that student's name from the register. So these penalties are provided for in Section 22 of the Social Service Professions Act. So it's a process and investigation, colleagues, and we don't predetermine it to say this student's name must be removed from the register. We must give them an opportunity to respond to the allegations. When you go to Section Regulation 15, my apology, it talks to the disclosure of criminal offense at the point of applying for registrations. They must go through that part and not jump it to disclose their criminal offenses. And further, the regulations put an obligation on the providers to inform the council of the outcome of any criminal offenses that led to a disciplinary inquiry during which the person was found guilty and convicted. So it's your responsibility, service providers and employers, to inform council of these incidents. Now we move away from the regulations regarding the registrations of student social auxiliary workers. Now we jump into the regulations regarding the registrations of child and youth care workers, auxiliary child and youth care workers, and student child and youth care workers. Then Regulation 1 that talks to the definitions. It provides a definition of a student, which is not there in terms of the two regulations that we spoke to just now. Now, a student means a person studying child and youth care work at either professional or auxiliary level. A student child and youth care worker means a person who is registered with the SACSSP on condition that he completes the necessary qualification in order to meet the requirements for registration. And the training provider is the same as the one that is provided for in the regulations for student social workers and social auxiliary workers. So for the purpose of this space, I did not repeat it here because already they up there in terms of the other slides that we spoke to. Regulation 3 talks to conditions of registrations as student child and youth care worker, in that a person may register as a student child and youth care worker with council, provided A is registered with a training provider in the Republic of South Africa and is in his or her first year of study. Now you can see the difference now, the difference between the regulations regarding student social workers, student social auxiliary workers, and student child and care workers. So these regulations, they are clear as far as from which year of study is the student child and care supposed to register is from first year. So it goes in line with what the regulations regarding the fees payable are saying. I suspect that the legislator, when they were amending the regulations relating to fees payable, they saw this part and took it and forgetting that there are other two regulations that talks to second year of study. So basically it's the student regulations regarding the student social workers, because with the regulations regarding student auxiliary workers, there's no provision in terms of by when. So we can see the difference between the regulations regarding the student social workers and the regulations regarding the student child and youth care workers. So the other one talks to from second year, and this regulations talks to from first year of study. And B is saving practicals with an organization that is a non-profit organization registered in terms of the Non-Profit Act and any relevant organization state from the first year of registration. Then sub-regulation 2 The council may approve an application for registration from a student, child, and care worker from outside the Republic who wishes to do practical learnings in the Republic if students submit documentary proof required in terms of these regulations. Again, students from outside South Africa, they are allowed, subject to them having to register with council before they can start with their practicals or their learning, experiential learning in the country. So there's no free for all colleagues, they must be registered. Regulation 4 talks to application for registration, and sub-regulation 1 provides that a student, child, and care worker referred to in regulation 3 must apply for registration as a student, child, and care on a form obtainable from the registrar on or the 1st March of the year of study. Now, it talks about a form, colleagues, and the sector should be aware by now that we have introduced the online registration system with its own challenges. We need to use it, colleagues. Currently, we don't take a manual application. So there's no need for completion of an application form as far as registration is concerned. A student must apply through the online system and ensure that they get to be registered. And having noticed that we are experiencing serious challenges with our online systems, part of that reason why we are saying we must go to the universities or institutions of higher learning and so forth and register this our students, so that we avoid having a person being on the system for almost 2 or 3 years without being registered, struggling with the registration, or beyond a month or so. Beyond a month, it does not make sense, colleagues, that a person must wait for such a long period to can be registered as a student. I mean, the question is, what information do we need from this person that can make his or her application to be delayed for such a long time? And I always say to colleagues, there's no any legal explanation that as the SACSSP will stand in a court of law and provide in front of a magistrate or a judge as to why are we delaying with registering our students, and also social workers and other professionals. There's no legal explanation, colleagues. The colleagues who are who are doing law and so forth will tell you that the law does not know administrative challenges. So you cannot stand in a court of law and tell the judge that you could not register people because of an online registration system is not working. The law doesn't know that. The law says if you put the regulations and rules in place, you must comply with those rules and regulations. And in the event you are unable to comply with your own rules and regulations, you must just as well amend those rules and regulations and ensure that you put the timeframes within which you will comply. But you cannot raise administrative issues as an excuse for you not to comply with your own rules and regulations. So I'm raising this issue deliberately, colleagues, because so that we know what is it that you as stakeholders you must do to hold the SACSSP accountable. By the way, I'm talking to myself, so I'm not throwing anyone under the bus. If I'm throwing anyone under the bus, that person, the first person is me in my capacity as the acting registrar. We need to do things the correct way, and the message is that we need to go back to the basics, colleagues, and do the things on time, or do the right things on time, and ensure that we protect our professions. Now, if you go to sub-regulation 2, the application must be accompanied by a certified copy of the applicant's identity document or passport, if applicable, proof of residence and residence permit number, if applicable. So this information, colleagues, we are putting here deliberately because this is what we will need when we'll be doing the registrations outreach. So please inform those who are supposed to register or who will be applying for registrations to come along with these documents. Be a certified copy of the applicant's original academic record and the accredited training provider indicating the subject, modules, and number of years courses passed in each subject, as well as those for which he or she is enrolled. C, not E, colleagues, my apology there. A certified copy of the marriage certificate, whether a civil union or customary, union and proof of change of surname where applicable. And D, the prescribed registration fee, which is 262. Now, sub-regulation 2, capital letter A, provides that the registrar may, as and when required, request an applicant to submit a copy of the applicant's original academic record. So paragraph B talks about a copy of the applicant's original academic record. So in the event where the copy is suspicious, the sub-regulation 2 capital letter A makes provision for us to request that the applicant provide us with the original academic record. But the good thing is that if you do the registration at a specific university, I mean, their systems are there. They know this particular student, so they can verify that particular student there, and then we register that student within 2 days or so. Now, if we are sitting here in Pretoria and the student is out there, then there's a question around the document that they've supported. Now it's back and forth engagement. Now it doesn't assist, it frustrates the student, and on the other side is causing backlog as far as council's work is concerned. So that's why we're saying let's go down to the ground, all the institutions, so that we meet the students and register them there with the support of the training providers, close that particular gap by 31st of March and focus on other work of council as far as the mandate is concerned. Now we are appealing to you colleagues to support this program. It's not for the benefit of any individual, but it's for the benefit of our students, training providers, employers of social service professionals, and the sector as a whole, in particular the beneficiaries of social services, that they are going to be serviced by people who are duly registered with a relevant statutory board. Now, sub-regulation 3 provides that a person who has abandoned his or her study in child and youth care work for a period of 3 years must reapply for registration as a student and pay the prescribed registration fee, and may not be registered as a child and care worker in terms of the act. And any person who wishes to enroll for a qualification in child and care must register on or before 31st of March of their first year. So we spoke to this particular one. Then sub-regulation 4, an applicant must ensure that the documents that are not written in English, they get to be translated into English, and they will have to incur the cost as far as the translation services are concerned. Now you go to regulation 10 that talks to the change of name, residential and postal address. The same provisions contained in the regulations for students, social registrations of student social workers and student social auxiliary workers, they will apply. Now regulation 11, provision of list of names. Again, the regulation says to the provider that you need to provide us with certain information as far as student, child and care workers are concerned, and you follow the same principle that is contained in the regulations regarding the registration of student social workers. So that information that we spoke to, it must be provided to council as far as a student student child and care worker is concerned. You go to regulation 12, the disclosure of criminal offense. The same provisions we spoke to also apply. You go to regulation 13, disqualification from registration, which is different from the other regulations. So if you can recall, the other regulations, they are silent as far as the disqualification from registration. So this is new, as I can call it new or unique as far as the regulations for registrations of student, child and care workers concerned. So it says a person whose name is entered into Part B of the Child Protection Register. So it's the person who found guilty in terms of sexual offenses and so forth. Established in terms of the Children's Act, is not eligible for registration as a child and youth care worker. So the same applies. You can't register a person, a person as a student, child and care worker if their names appear in Part B of the Child Protection Register, colleagues. We cannot. And if that person wants to appeal that particular decision of council for refusing to enter his or her name into the register, we must guide them to follow the provisions of Section 25 and appeal that particular decision. And the minute we receive that particular appeal, it will be referred to the Minister of Social Development, who will establish the appeals committee. The appeals committee will look into the appeal and make a decision. But however, council will be a respondent in that particular appeal meeting to defend or to clarify the decision we took for refusing to register that particular person. Regulation 14, disciplinary inquiries. The same provision of which is contained in the regulation for students, for registration of student social workers and student social auxiliary workers applies. But the difference here is that the child and youth care workers. Thank you. Child and youth care workers, they have their separate code of ethics, colleagues. So there's a separate code of ethics for child and youth care workers. There's also separate rules relating to acts or omissions. So the rules that we use to prefer charges against child and youth care workers are different from the ones for social workers and social auxiliary workers. But the principle is the same as far as disciplinary inquiries is concerned, to say even students, child and youth care workers can be held accountable as far as their conduct is concerned. So the principle is the same. However, they do have their own separate code of ethics, and they also have their own separate rules relating to acts or omissions. So basically, if we were to summarize this discussion that we had so far, colleagues, you'll hear that we spoke about the Social Service Professions Act, the three regulations relating to the registrations of student social workers, student social auxiliary workers, and student child and youth care workers. And further to that, you might have us talking about the regulations regarding the fees payable by social service professionals. So you need to be in possession of this particular document. Further to that, you had us talking about the code of ethics. So we have the code of ethics for social workers and student social workers and social auxiliary workers. We also have the rules relating to the acts or omissions, which are the rules which describe what is regarded as unethical or unprofessional conduct. You need to be in possession of that. And the eighth document that you need to be in possession of is the regulations regarding the conducting of inquiries into alleged unprofessional conduct. Now, when you are in possession of these documents, then you'll be able to manage processes as far as student registration is concerned, also to assist the student, but also to ensure that you hold the SACSSP accountable as far as their rules and regulations are concerned, but also to understand from a service provider point of view or a training provider point of view, an employer of a social service professional point of view, what are my responsibilities and obligations as far as the management of student is concerned. So all this information is contained in the 8 documents that I spoke to. Now, the payment of the registration fee here is the account number for the SACSSP. We're using the net bank as our bank. There is the account number, but the emphasis that we need to put here, colleagues, is that it's always best that training provider assist students as far as bulk payments are concerned, so that we avoid individual students paying individually there, then we process their payments, and those can take into consideration the challenges that we are still experiencing as far as our IT systems are concerned. So it works much better if what I can call training providers or employers, in the event they want to assist to do bulk payments and submit the details or the information as far as the full names, ID numbers, and the amount being paid in respect of each person, so that we can process those particular payments and ensure that we assist the student. But because we'll be coming down to your institution's colleagues, it will work better than finding creative ways to manage these particular processes so that we assist our students. So that's the plea, colleagues, just to take note other mechanisms that we can use to pay. Now, thanks very much, Program Director. That is the presentation that we wanted to do and share with our stakeholders today. And we will ensure that the presentation gets to be circulated. Those who are struggling to access the 8 documents. So basically, the presentation will be the 9 documents that our stakeholders need to have to assist them to manage these processes as far as students are concerned. Thanks very much for your attention, and we are looking forward to for 2024 and outer years ahead, so that we are able to achieve the mandate of council and protect and promote our professions and our professionals. Thanks very much, Program Director.
Thank you, Acting Registrar. Thank you for a very detailed presentation. We are now moving, colleagues, we are now moving to the part where we need to ask some questions, clarity, and even to me. Apologies for that. We want to believe that we have reached a part whereby we have gathered information, we are learned, we have been presented with more knowledge, we have been clarified, perhaps, our concerns regarding some of the issues in terms of our registrations has been also clarified. But now we cannot leave the session without hearing your concern one another and have a clear and effective functioning SACSSP to address your needs as a registrant and meet our mandate eventually. So this section, we will then lead it in the following way. Will be afforded an opportunity to ask their questions, to seek and to even comment if there is some comments, not only questions. So we will allow that now by noticing the hands that are coming. And colleagues, registrants, can you feel free and engage with us so that you leave this platform clarified and certain of processes that will unfold going forward. I will now start by noticing the hands. Before can you allow me to note the hands, and then we will call the hands in the sequence that we have noted them. Please, colleagues, it's a humble request. Can we have an orderly question and answer session? So we are going to note present, and then we will take it from there. If you're okay with them. Tanya?
My apologies, I lost you for a while. My name is Tanya. May I ask a question?
Yes, you may, Tanya.
Thank you so much for that. I appreciate being here. I'm from the Eastern Cape, from Quebec, and we run a child and youth care center with 81 children. My main concern as an employer is the lack of qualified child and youth care workers that are applying for the positions that are vacant. And so we've got people, wonderful people that we've employed. Maybe they are social auxiliary workers or they are care workers, qualified care workers that now need to be trained. How do I register them? And then the further concern to me is the cost of the training. The individual can't afford it and the center can't afford it. So how long are they then allowed to be registered? Would that be a child and youth care worker auxiliary, or how would that work, please?
Hi, Tanya. Miss Tanya?
Yes, I'm here.
Yes, I was saying, can you kindly repeat your latter part of the question? We have missed it because we need to capture and also to apologize to colleagues. I think we did that during our welcoming, that our net to hear. Can you please repeat the latter part of the question so that we can capture it? Thank you.
No problem. Sorry, I'm also, every now and again, I'm missing you. So here and there, I can hear a word. So I hope you can hear me now. The last part was the cost of training. It is extremely expensive to study as a child and youth care worker. So we've employed people as child and youth care workers to work within the houses, but now to pay for this training, for example, at NACCW, it costs a lot. We cannot afford this. How long may we keep this person employed as a child and youth care worker, I assume registered as an auxiliary child and youth care worker? How long may we do that? Thank you. I hope that makes sense.
We have captured your question. Thank you. We will gather the first 10 questions as per the hands, then the can. So we are recognizing the second hand. Can Marike speak?
Hi, morning. Thank you.
Morning, Marike.
I just have a question with regards to what Mr. Sakitla said, that we want to close the gap and keep accountability and everything. The Neuron is a wonderful platform to register these students, but we have had a lot of difficulties with certificates and with requests and learners having to start with practicals that have not yet received a SACSSP provisional number. So how are we going to streamline the process to be assisted faster and not wait up until moderation or verification, and we still have learners without numbers and without digital certificates? Thank you.
Thank you, Marike. Can we have Paul?
Thank you. Good morning.
Good morning, yes, Paul.
All right. I think mine is kind of similar to others, especially the first one, Tanya. We have lot of workers who do not have the child and youth care qualification, but they have, maybe they are auxiliary workers or community development workers. How do we go about registering them? Because as workers, they need to be registered. And I tried, to ask from the council, and then they said that they cannot register them if they do not have the qualification or if they are not students. So what can you advise us? Because they are working with kids and they are not registered, and it is the requirement that they are registered. And I did attend an SCCW last year a webinar, and they were actually, urging us, to register our workers. So how can we go about that? That's the main thing. And also the access to training, because really it's expensive. And as you know, the childcare workers' salaries are not that much that they can afford the trainings, and we NPOs will rely on the government, and we cannot afford to pay for trainings. Thank you.
Thank you, Sisimpo. Can we have smoke? I've noted a hand from smoke. It's smoke there. We are then moving forward, colleagues. Can I have Randy Tiger?
Hello, ma'am. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Randy.
I also just dropped my question in the chat box. So basically, I wanted to know if there is a manual that we can share with the students with the steps for them to register online. I also wanted to confirm what the deadline is for registration. And I also want to confirm if we usually pay for all the students, we pay their registration fee in bulk. So if it's okay if they attach the proof of payment. And then a lot of our students also struggle with submitting their original academic records because of outstanding fees. So the past year, we asked, or we sent a special request where we asked the academic records from our student admin offices, and then our HOD signs it and we stamp it with our departmental stamp, because they cannot certify it when it comes from the student admin office because of the outstanding fees. And then we also have a backlog with certificates that hasn't been that the students haven't received. And we also struggle with the organizations because they need those certificates and their registration numbers. That's all from me.
Is that all, Randy?
That's all. Thank you.
Thank you then. We also have, can we recognize Asandile? Asandile?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yes, good morning, colleagues. I think what Randy has just touched on, we are struggling with that. In terms of students not having transcript because they owe the university. And number two, the ones that have the transcript, they are always in trouble with the police. They don't want to certify, some police don't want to certify their transcripts, saying that there's already a stamp of the university. So I just want to ask the council, why are we taking this transcript now to the police, whereas the university has already certified them? And also we have a backlog of last year where students don't have their certificates, and there's a problem with the system, the online system, where they have applied, where they cannot update their profiles. And we've been speaking with people from council, and they've been trying to assist, but to this day, we are still facing problems. And these students are third years, some are fourth years, that needs to go to organizations, and those organizations will want the certificates. They would want the students to have the certificates. And I hope council can assist us with that. Thank you.
Thank you, Asandile. Can we have Nkosiyazi Dube?
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I think colleagues have covered some of the things that I wanted to check. But I heard that the council will be visiting some institutions. So I'm just asking that if possible, can we be notified earlier in advance so that students are also around in case some might not have managed to register and they might also have some questions for the council. And also that if maybe during that time of your visit, because students are supposed to be registered by the 31st of March, if I heard correctly, if we have done the online applications, may we maybe request that during that time we also bring the certificates along with you. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm seeing, is it Liz or Liz?
It's Lisa. So sorry.
Oh, it's Lizelle.
Lisa.
Yes,
Lisa. Okay.
Or Lise.
Yeah. I am from AMVM Welfare, and most of our child and youth care workers had completed the course. So there is all the problems. I think my team was there yesterday by you, regarding the registration as the child and youth care auxiliaries, because the results is not out. But that's not the question that I want to ask now, because I think that's a different process. You mentioned on the presentation that we have different codes of ethics for the child and youth care workers, as well as the unprofessional regulations on the unprofessional matters, whatever. So we want to do like a reinforcement training with our child and youth care workers and a workshop. So I want to know, is there a specific department by you guys that is doing a specific training on code of ethics for child and youth care workers, or is the information accessible for us to further the training that they received and have discussions on that with our teams?
Okay.
That's my question.
All right. Colleagues, can we humbly request that we pause with the questions, but you can still continue raise your hands so that then we can note them, and then we will have a second round of questions. Another set of hands will be identified so that then we can now request the acting register to provide some answers and guidance to the questions that have already been presented to us. Thank you. Over to you, acting register.
Thank you, Program Director. Just allow me to start with the last clarity-seeking questions as far as the provision or the conducting of the Code of Ethics for child and care workers. Yeah, indeed, the SACSSP does provide the training. So we'll encourage the employers or the training institute to invite us. You can use the email address, which is the profconmanager@SACSSP.co.za, to send the request and propose 2 dates. From probably, let's talk about March there, just to allow us for February to focus on registration matters. From March going forward, you can send a request with 2 days, then we'll provide the training, and we do it for free. So it's being provided for free. Then when we're there, we can do what we call train the trainer, so that we leave you with the message and the capacity thereof to be able to continue with assisting others who will not be able to attend that particular training. However, in the meantime, you can access these rules and regulations on our website, or use our email addresses to make a request. We will forward to the documents in the meantime. Now, the notice for the registrations outreach, colleagues, we issued it some weeks ago. It's called General Notice 2 of 2024. which contains the details in terms of by which date, at which university or institutions we will be in terms of the outreach. But in the interest of sharing this information once and for all, colleagues, just to assist, on the 12th and 13th February, we will be at Walter Sisulu University. On the 14th of February, we'll be at University of Fort Hare, East London campus. On the 15th of February, we'll be at Alice campus, which is Fort Hare. On the 16th of February, we'll be at Nelson Mandela University. Then we complete the Eastern Cape project. Then on the 23rd of February, we will be at Northwest University, Vanderbilt Park campus. On the 19th and 20th February, we'll be at Mafikeng campus. On the 21st and 22nd of February, we'll be at Potchefstroom campus. Then we complete Northwest project. On the 19th and 20th of February, we'll be at University of KwaZulu-Natal. And on the 21st and the 22nd, we'll be at University of Zululand. And on the 23rd February, we'll be at Durban University of Technology. Then we complete a KZN project. On the 21st and the 22nd of February, we'll be at University of Free State. Only one university there, then we complete the project. If there will be a need for follow-up, then we will do so. And on the 26th and 27th of February, we'll be at University of Western Cape, and other team will be at Uchonet College on those same 2 days, which is the 26th and the 27th. On the 28th and the 29th, we'll be at University of Cape Town. And on the 29th, the other team will be deployed to Stellenbosch University. Then we complete the Western Cape project. On the 4th and 5th, we'll be at University of Limpopo of March. And on the 6th and 7th of March, we'll be at University of Venda. Then we complete the Limpopo project. On the 4th of March, we'll be at University of Pretoria. On the 6th of March, we'll be at Wits. And on the 5th of March, we'll be at University of Johannesburg. And on the 8th of March, we will be at SACSSP, which is South African College of Applied Psychology, on the 8th of March 2024. Then we complete the Gauteng project. Because currently we do not have university there in the Northern Cape, and also University of Mpumalanga, they're still trying to register students there and ensure that their qualification is in line with our requirement. So at this stage, we'll only go to the Department of Social Development. And on the 11th and 12th of March, we'll be in Nelspruit Department of Social Development. And on the 13th and the 14th, we'll be around Witbank, Department of Social Development, Regional Office or District Office. Then on the 11th and the 12th, again, the other team will be deployed to not in the Northern Cape in Kimberley. And on the 13th and the 14th, the team will be deployed to Uppington. So those are the dates and the areas where we'll be. And in terms of university scholars, it will be main campuses except the one as far as Alice and East London. But if you are saying where at Wits, you'll find us at the main campus. If you say University of Pretoria, you'll find us at the main campus, and so forth and so forth. Now, that is in relation to the registrations outreach project. Now, Asandile spoke about the challenges as far as accessing the academic records, and why do we have to certify copies of the academic records which have the university stamp? It's just the procedure and the legal way of doing things, because a person can steal the university stamp and use it and generate an academic record. So having a certified copy is a confirmation that is a true reflection of the original. And in the event that we found that you misrepresented yourself, we are able to hold you accountable. We note the challenges as far as updating profiles on the neuron system. That is a big challenge, colleagues, and we really want to apologize to the sector for that. And that's part of the reasons why we say let's go down to the ground, so that as and when applicants are experiencing challenges on the system, we're able to do what we call troubleshooting, working through with our IT so that we assist the applicants on the spot. Because at this point in time, it's an IT challenge, colleagues, and like I've indicated earlier on, the law does not know or recognize administrative challenges. We must find means to ensure that our students are registered on time. Then colleague Randy also spoke about the issues there, manual documents to be shared with the students to register on the system. The last time I checked, it was there. We'll have to verify with IT, but I want to believe the registration manager can confirm that. I want to believe that the step-by-step process is there to assist the applicants to register. And also the challenge to produce academic records due to outstanding fees. The mechanism that we've introduced of trying to source what we call the provisional one, I think it's workable. But unfortunately, from our side, colleagues, remember we need to comply with the regulations. We need an academic record to be able to register a student, and it's the responsibility of the student and the training provider to ensure that at least we get to be provided with a reasonable document so that can be able to register the student. We note the challenge as far as the backlog with the registration certificates, and we want to believe by the time we go to the provinces, all these issues will have been ironed out, and we should be able to issue the registration certificate on time. There's another colleague I forgot to capture his or her name. Then how do you go about registering people as child and youth care workers? They are working with kids and they are not registered. And that also goes to the issue that was raised by colleague Tanya as well. Now, colleagues, the regulations are the regulations for child and youth care workers. They've been there since 2014. And child and youth care workers who were already working at the time the regulations were promulgated, they were given another extension of 3 to 4 years to ensure that they obtain the relevant qualification. Now, it got to a point where council has to make a decision as to for how long are they going to allow people to continue practice without being qualified as far as the NQF level 4 qualification is concerned, because this is a 12 months program that people need to undergo. Now, we note the issue around the cost, colleagues, to say that it is expensive and others are not working, or others are working but they are not earning well. But this is the unfortunate part with the law, colleagues. Now we are having people who are registered and they meet the minimum requirements as far as qualification is concerned, and you have the other group that they do not meet the requirements as far as qualification is concerned. Then what do you do? Do you allow people to continue practicing without qualification? If you do that, it undermines the profession itself. It also undermines those who are meeting the requirements. So it is our appeal, colleagues, that any person who's having interest to be registered as a child and youth care workers must make means, colleagues, to ensure that you obtain the relevant qualification. That is that unfortunately from council side, police, we can't assist as far as that particular issue is concerned. And this is where now the professional associations of child and youth care workers, employers, and training institutions or training providers need to come together and see how we can assist those who are struggling to obtain the relevant qualification, because it's not only limited to funds or monies to be able to go through this particular. There may be other challenges, but however, colleagues, it is a responsibility of an individual. If you are saying you want to be a registered social worker, it is your responsibility to go make means to ensure that you go through all the processes and ensure that you meet the requirements. That is the primary responsibility of an applicant. Now, where you need assistance, unfortunately, from council side, there's no any other means support that we can give, unless if there's a proposal from the sector, which is the you yourselves as child and youth care workers, you make a submission to the professional board for child and youth care work to relax the regulations. I don't know how possible is that it can happen. I'm not sure. I'm just saying that they relax the regulations and ensure that people continue practicing without registration. It will be just a legal nightmare, colleagues, to do it, but the responsibility lies with an individual person who wants to identify and be recognized as a child and youth care worker. You must comply with the regulations and ensure that you obtain a qualification. I don't want to say people are making excuses to say they can't afford the fees, but however, we need to ensure that we comply with the law, because it is difficult, colleagues. Now the question is, if you are practicing now as a child and youth care worker and you are not meeting the requirements, and you happen to do something as far as unprofessional conduct is concerned, you beat a child or you do something to a child there, then the question is, how is council going to hold you accountable? Because basically you are not registered because you are not meeting the requirements. So we want to put a responsibility and obligation on the employers to ensure that they make means, and individual people to make means to ensure that people are registered, or they are registered as well. There is a report that came out talking about the challenges of the secure care center, call it the secure care report, colleagues. It highlights this issue of many child and youth care workers working with children and they are not registered with council. Now it becomes a challenge because we can't hold those people accountable as far as their conduct is concerned. And the more we continue with people who are not registered, it undermines the profession, because currently there's an estimation that we might be having more unregistered social workers, child and youth care workers, as compared to those who are registered. Now, if you are having few people registered and majority are not registered, then chances are you don't have a profession as social work, as a child and youth care worker, because majority of the people who are supposed to be regulated are not regulated. You are only having few who are complying. So I'm putting back this problem to you, colleagues, because our mandate is to register in line with the minimum requirements, and it's up to individuals to make means to ensure that they meet the minimum requirements. So acting registration manager, where I might have missed some of the issues, you may also add. Thank you. Program Director, your mic.
Yes, I have unmuted my mic. Thank you, Acting Registrar. I think you have captured most of them. And to summarize from the 7 questions that we had, the key element that we are using our online system, and you had apologize to that effect, that we are still experiencing some challenges. But however, we would, as a division, as registrations division, we would request the affected registrants to communicate with us, because in some of the instances we have been able to assist, and where there is no certificate at the current point in time of registration, we have issued testimonial letters to confirm that the person is indeed registered with us. So we will humbly request that registrants that are affected, be it coming from their institutions in the form of a list, that can be submitted, and we will try our best to assist. We've been doing that in the past, and we have been trying to move with that. If we have to move forward, because now it appears as it duplicate on the system. So we would like to identify some of the hands so that then we can go forward. We will come back to colleagues if they've got further questions or further clarity seeking a presentation or answers from us. We are here for the sector, and we are hoping that we will try our best to assist and provide some answers and guidance so that then we can have an effective SSPs sector that is also compliant. So let us have a hand. Can we have Gem Meg project? Colleagues, I'm hoping I'm audible. I might be breaking due to a network that is not stable. Okay, there's no hand. Can we have Kid Kardashian? Kid? Kid, can you hear me? We can't get off Gem and Kid. We are moving to Smokey. Smokey.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
Is that Smokey?
No, it's not smoke. It's just that I don't know whether we're not experiencing, some technical problems here, because I'm trying to raise a hand and the system doesn't allow me to raise a hand. I wonder if that is not happening with others too.
Yeah, because we've noticed that we're experiencing a technical challenge. Even us ourselves, we are breaking. We are not audible to yourselves. Hence, we said we will be tolerant to each other, because we want to learn more from this. You see?
Yeah,
who is on the platform now?
I want to put my hand up as well. It's Mpo. I have had a chance, but I wanted to put a hand up so that I can be recognized later, but I don't know how to do it then.
We are recognizing you, Mpo, for later.
Okay,
let's give the others that haven't spoken a chance.
Yes.
Then you can come later, right? Thank you for that. Can we have Stephanie Webster? Stephanie? Yes, Stephanie, you can speak.
I have two questions.
Yes, Stephanie.
What do I do if I'm a fourth-year student and my application's been rejected?
Okay.
For my second year.
Continue with your questions. We will come back.
Yes, and the last one is, do we need to re-register and pay the fee again this year?
Okay. All right, Stephanie, can we have Maretta? Maretta?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, Maretta, we can hear you.
Good, thank you so much. I'm from Avram Kriel Bambanani, CYCC, as well as a service provider. We do the level 4 training for auxiliary child and youth care. I want to make a comment and then ask a question. The comment is, I'm extremely concerned about all the CYCCs, because if you experience that the half of all auxiliary child and youth care workers are not registered, because they are not trained or they haven't received their certificates yet. The whole system is in danger of collapsing, as the DSD is now expecting the certificates of all the auxiliary child and youth care workers in order to fund the CYCs. So if this is true, that only 50% is registered now because they have certificates and the others are now deregistered, CYCCs are going to lose their funding, and that will have an effect on the needy children, the children in need of care. So I totally understand the acting register's motivation, why the board says, it was in 2014 that we said you need to be trained. So you need to do something to get people to do the training. I understand that. But don't you think this should not be done in isolation? Because the effect now on the DSD and their policies are, we are going to lose funding, a lot of CYCCs, and people are going to close down and children will not have places to go somewhere. My question, did you discuss this with the people from DSD before the board made this decision?
We've captured your question, Maretta.
Thank you.
Can we have, yes, was that your only question?
Yes.
All right. Can we have Fezile?
Octavia, I just wanted to ask, in terms of the deadline, is there a possibility that your accounts office can work with us? Because whenever we send emails asking for invoices so that we can make payment in time, they often take weeks before they get back to us. And most of the times we have to ask someone in the office to intervene before we can get feedback from them. So if they can please work with us on that one so that we don't miss the deadline. Thank you so much.
Was that Fezile? Oh, okay. I want to believe that it was Fezile. Can we go back and get Gem Meg project? Colleagues from Gem Meg project, can you speak? Okay, it seems as if we've lost them, but their hand is still up. Can we have Smokey? Smokey. All right. Acting registrar, can we respond to these questions that have been presented whilst we try to note some other hands as well?
Thanks, Program Director. There's a lot of hands. I'm not sure if you can pick them on your side, but it's fine. Let's proceed with this round. May I please start to just summarize the question from Stephanie? I missed Stephanie's question.
Do you want me
to say what do I? Yes, please proceed, ma'am.
I'm a fourth year student and my profile's been rejected in my second year. And I've been emailing, but nobody's answering me. What can I do?
So second year students have been rejected for application.
Yes, my profile.
Okay. That no, it shouldn't. Then it could be a system problem that needs to be attended. And the reason why we're saying we should go to the institution is to address these particular issues, because there can't be any reason why a person is being rejected on the system other than it being a technical problem. But my concern is when you say you've sent an email and it has not been responded to, but probably what you can do outside this forum, then you just forward us that particular email. You can forward it to this email address, the ProfCon manager one, so that we can trace as to where did you send the inquiry to and why was it not attended to. But however, it needs to be attended so that the colleagues who are responsible for the registration can go into the system and identify what could be the challenge. So they don't need to re-register. Just wait until such time that you forward us the email. We make follow-up, we go into the system and identify what could be the challenge. So don't make any additional payments at this point in time. Now, the colleague Marietta spoke about the concerns in relation to the issue of the deregistrations of child and youth care workers. Maybe I should clarify to say we did not deregister 50% of the people who are registered. The point that I raised earlier on is to say, in general, the people who have been deregistered as in terms of those who do not meet the requirements as far as registration is qualification is concerned, in line with the board and council resolution, they are less than 2,000. They are 1,000 something. The acting registrations manager can confirm the number. When I was saying the preliminary reports shows that the number of registered or unregistered child and youth care workers, it's more than the number of registered child and youth care workers. So it has no impact. It's not as a result of the deregistrations that we've been effecting now. It's as a result that since the establishment of a professional board for child and youth care work and regarding child and youth care work as a profession, majority of people have never been compliant since 2014. So that's the challenge that we are facing. The number that we are deregistering because of they do not meet the requirements as far as qualifications concerned, it's a smaller number compared to the ones who did not register at all since 2014. So it is not the deregistrations that we are effecting now will not collapse the system, because already we are sitting with a number of people who are not complying with the regulations at all. So part of what we are doing is to work closely with child and youth care workers who are practicing but not duly registered to ensure that they get to be registered. And those who do not meet the requirements, the arrangement is that we deregister you as a child and youth care worker, but we register you as a student child and youth care worker, provided that you eventually get into the system of studying towards that particular qualification. So that's part of the arrangement that we are making. So if we were to say the system is collapsing, it will not collapse because of the council and board resolution to deregister those who do not meet the requirements, because majority already are not meeting the requirements. And the question is, how are they being funded now? Because there's a lot of number of child and care workers who are practicing both in government and in the NPO sector who are not registered with the SSSP, never even bothered to register with the SACSSP from the beginning. Then the question is, how is the government funding those institutions who are having people who have never been registered even in the first place? So I just wanted to clarify that issue, so that the message should not go out to say the sector is collapsing or services as far as child and care work services are collapsing because of council resolution. No, council resolution is just a drop in the ocean in terms of the numbers, but the majority as we speak are not registered, but they are practicing. And that's the point that we are trying to raise, to say, can we work together, colleagues, that we ensure that everyone who regards him or herself as a social service professional gets to be registered, and can see how we can support them. Because if you provide the reasons, for example, the appeal that we want to make now is that can the CYC centers who are employing child and youth care workers, can you please submit or forward the names of all your child and youth care workers, those registered and those who are not registered, so that we can take this information to the professional board for child and youth care for further deliberation, so that they can have a sense in terms of what are the issues, to say the number that we want to deregister versus the number that is already not registered. How do we deal with these two numbers? So it's an appeal or my approach to say, can we have the list of those who are not registered or those who are affected by the sunset clause, so that we can send the information back to the professional body for CYC for deliberation. Now, the issue around the delay in issuing of the invoices to ensure timeous payment. Again, the colleague says we've sent emails and there was no response, colleagues. Then my appeal is that, colleagues, can you forward us that email so that we can trace it as to the person whom you send that email, so that we can check with that colleague as to why they did not respond to your email. That's the best way to deal with this particular issue. However, it is important that going forward, we must ensure that we do the invoicing on time and ensure that the timeous payment is made. But where colleagues, we have sent an email and an email has not been responded to, please forward it to us so that we can trace it. Because chances are somebody might have still been using old emails. There are certain email addresses which have been phased out, so that we don't find ourselves having continue to use wrong email addresses with the hope that people will respond only to find that they are wrong emails. So forward us those emails, we'll verify as to whether those emails are still existing, and if they are, we will trace it through the officials who is responsible for that email address and do the proper assessment as to why we did not intervene timeously. So thanks, Program Director.
Thank you, Acting. Perhaps to also give the numbers to confirm to the sector that indeed the registrar is not collapsing, or services of child youth care workers are not collapsed by SACSSP. Colleagues, we have only deregistered 1,702 affected auxiliary child youth care workers due to sunset provision. These are the numbers, colleagues. So it is not to say, indeed, as acting registrar has explained, it is not that the whole 50% or whatever percentage is now collapsing the registers or the system. It was in response to the resolution that the affected 1,702 child youth care workers need to be registered as per the resolution that was taken. And I want to believe that, colleagues, we are going to go further now and give the following colleagues some platform to also seek some clarity or even comment, colleagues. Let's go to, I'm trying to find people that have not spoken. Marty van Rensbeck.
Good morning. I'm Marty van Rensburg from CYCW in Pretoria. I have a question. Is there a list of unemployed CYCWs that is available? And the next one is CDB points for CYCWs. Is there trainings available that you can give us some? And then we had a challenge with registering one of our students as a CYCW. She's employed at our organization, and when we registered her as a student CYCW, DSD had a challenge with us and saying she needs to be a social auxiliary CYCW. So my question is, when are you a social auxiliary CYCW, and is the students that is busy with the training registered as a student or as a social auxiliary CYCW?
Thank you, Mati. Let us move to Nkosnati. Nkosnati Mkonto. Marty, can you lower your hand? Nkosnati?
Hello.
Nkosinathi, yes, you can speak, Bab.
Hello, ma'am. I'm not Nkosinathi, ma'am. There's an issue of some participants not being able to reach through to you people, ma'am.
We did explain the technical challenge that we are both experiencing. Council officers and the participants as well. We are struggling. Then hence we said we will try and tolerate one another so that we can have an effective webinar. So if the person is struggling, we will await, let her indicate or maybe send her question via a chat box. After the hands, we are going to respond to the questions that we are noting in the chat box. Okay. Smokey, your hand is up.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, I have two questions, ma'am. The first one was going back to Stephanie. She asked that must you register as a student? Must you register every year to the council? And then, ma'am, I wanted to know. Last year I had registered and I got rejected, ma'am. I paid the 228 that's indicated on the website, but I have since learned that the fee is now 262. So I wanted to know if I must now repay the whole 262 or must I only add 34 Rand onto my application this year?
All right. Thank you, Smokey. You can then listen over to the answers. Let's have Gem Meg project. Gem Meg project.
You hear me, ma'am?
Yes, we can hear you.
Thank you very much. Mine is in two parts. The first one, I want to just encourage everyone to say, I've managed to take my learners to your offices last year, the one that I started in social auxiliary work. And we got assisted very, very well by your patient and helpful officers at your offices. And also when we spoke to them telephonically, whenever we had challenges, because they guided us in terms of the process of registering on your system. When we were back at our offices, they were very, very helpful. So thank you very much to the officers who are helping at your offices. The second part, I want to speak to the issue that Tanya raised regarding the funding for learners. The Health and Welfare SETA is currently running workshops around the issue of funding. They usually fund some of these courses that you are talking about here. So I encourage everyone to interact with the Health and Welfare SETA, check on their website and see when the workshops are being run. They also have got an online one that is being recorded and is going to be loaded on YouTube channel. So people need to apply for a T number. I think the deadline for that is around March, and then also submit so that maybe some of their people can fund it. Because I heard some people saying that the course is actually expensive. So I thought I should share this with the colleagues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Jemek. We are moving over. Can we have Mabunzi Mulaudzi?
Good day, colleagues. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you so much for the opportunity. Thank you also for this webinar. So I just want to make a request to the council. You know, the problems that have been raised with regard to the number of child and youth care workers who have been deregistered, some who have not as yet been able to register, some who needs training. I think it's a problem that should talk to all of us. And I think it's a challenge or a problem situation that we shouldn't just leave unresolved. My appeal is that as stakeholders, the council, social development, social workers, and whoever that is involved, we need to be mindful of the fact that we cannot afford to have job losses in our sector. It's us, the social workers, the council, DSG, Health and Welfare, SETA, who must come together and assist these people. Because I believe that in South Africa we do have resources, we do have the means, but the coordination is lacking. I'm appealing to the register, I'm appealing to everyone who is here that I think it's about time that we shouldn't just meet with the council when it comes to issues of registration. I know this platform was for registration, but then let us be mindful of the challenges that our people are faced with out there. And let us be mindful of the fact that, those people are our brothers and sisters, and, they are people who are serving in the health and the welfare sector, and it's only us who can assist them out there. So I'm really appealing to the council that let us find a way in which we can meet together and try to sit down, brainstorm, and try to find solutions, because honestly, the status quo cannot remain. There are no jobs in South Africa. We need to really act and make sure that, in our sector, we have to bring the excellence and to help the government to create jobs instead of having situations where people will be losing jobs. So I'm really appealing because, especially with the child and youth care workers, when you look at who they are servicing, the beneficiaries, it's really disheartening to see that, the end users, the beneficiaries are the ones that are going to be suffering. And in South Africa, we have multiple problem situations. Multiple problem situations. And that needs us. There isn't any other sector. There isn't any other council that can really stand. DSD, Social Work Council, Health and Welfare SETA are amongst the main stakeholders who should really work with us. Some of us are just service providers. Your voice can only go up to so much, but please register. That is my appeal. I'm one of those who is willing to volunteer on those kind of structures. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Mabunzi. Can we have Sibongile Mzulwini? Sibongile?
Hello.
Yes, you can speak, sis.
Yes,
Thank you so much. Good day, colleagues. Thank you for the opportunity. My question is on the child and youth care workers who studied and completed and passed their degrees or diplomas, but they are struggling to pay the fees in universities or institutions. And they were registered as students before while they were still studying, but now they are struggling to comply with the registration regulations in terms of paying their annual fees. So they don't know where they stand because they completed their courses, but they don't have the evidence of their certificates as like the degrees or diplomas. Then they are unable to update their status and comply with the annual fees with the council. Just checking if there is any way that the council can assist them.
Thank you, Mrs. Bongile. Liz, are you coming again?
Sorry, I just made a remark when Mr. Rietler talked about the people that was compliant that was not deregistered, and I just made a comment in the comment group that it's not true. Our people from 2016, 2017, 2018 was registered on that grace period on their portfolios of working many years for the as a child and youth care worker, and then we had to obtain for 40 child and youth care workers the money to let them be enrolled by a service provider. They started the previous year, 2020-22, with their trainings. They completed in October last year all the trainings. They have their results, but then now we are awaiting upon HWCTA for our certificates. So it's not that's not true that the council say that they just deregistered the people that was not compliant. We will comply compliant all the way. We paid last year double for our people because they were registered as on that grace period as the social auxiliaries, and then we had to re-register them as the students. We paid double fees, and then the student ones lapsed as soon as they write their exams in October last year. That means we had double expenses, and now they deregistered, and we were compliant all the way. The only thing holding us back now is the certificates of HWCTA. So my plea is also, please, if the council, we are paying 30 years our registration fees. Can there be help or assistance, support, anything from the council to meet with HWCTA and the service providers and see if they can push from their side as well? Because DSD doesn't want to re-register our homes because we don't have that certificates and we don't have a valid registration. And that's the only thing that holds us back.
Thank you, Liz. We are hearing your concern. Further clarity will be provided. Can you then lower your hand? Nkosinathi? 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 I think Nkosinathi is gone. Can we have Mpho?
Thank you. All right. Okay. Thanks. My question is around the incomplete training that was conducted by DSD. I don't know whether it was nationwide, but it's in the Eastern Cape.
Mpho?
Can I go ahead? Can I go ahead?
Yes, you can. We apologize for that disruption.
Okay.
You can continue. We're trying to find
All
the
right.
colleague so that we can
Okay.
mute him.
All right.
Yes.
And
you just
then
need to start afresh.
Oh, okay. I have some of my employees who started the training with DSD. It was, I think, yeah.
Mpho?
Hello. Oh, I don't know how I was muted. Sorry.
We could not hear a word.
Okay. Can I talk now?
Yes, you can continue.
Okay.
Yes, you can talk.
All right. I have people who did not finish their childcare qualification. It was discontinued, and the social development was sponsoring that qualification or that training. So they are short of just one module, module 4. Is there anything that we can be assisted with? Because I'm the assessor moderator for child and youth care. So I'm able to do that training with them just to continue with the module 4. But how can we be assisted to do that rather than, to just have these people who are in limbo? They do not have a qualification. I am the facilitator, and then this qualification belongs to QCTO. We can have access to it. How can we be helped? Thank you.
Thank you, Mpho. Sibongile Manyathi.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, is that Sibongile?
Yes. Yes.
Yes, Sibongile. We can hear you, Sibongile.
Okay. Thank you very much. I have a challenge here with a social auxiliary worker who has applied for registration. She's submitted all the documents, and each time she phones, she's told she's owing so much. Each time she's owing so much. Recently, she's been told she's owing 800 rand, and she said she's going to pay that 800 rand. But they always say there's a problem at IT. IT is experiencing it. It's a year now. the delay is impacting on her negatively because we employed her on condition she submits within a month or two, but it's become a year now and she still has, but all the other documents she submitted in terms of having passed the social auxiliary, and the delay is in this certificate. We need that help. How does one fast track that one?
Okay. Sibongile, are we done?
Yes, I'm done. Thank you.
Oh, okay. Thank you, Sisi. Let's then listen to the responses as they are going to be presented. Thank you, colleagues. Over to you, Acting. Before you respond, can we have Rian? Rian, your hand is up. Rian? Rian?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now.
Hi, morning. I'm Rian Murray from Eastern Province Child and Youth Care Centre in Port Elizabeth, Eastern Cape. My question is that it's a general question concerning we have a number of child and youth care workers that are not registered. They do not have the funding to register for the training, and that means that they in due course will be deregistered. As employer, what do you do with child and youth care workers that can't comply with the regulations due to funding or resources, but they are employed for a number of years? Can they continue to work? Is it illegal for them to be employed? Should they be retrenched? And I think that is the concern. How does the CYCC provide the services if a number of your child and youth care workers are non-compliant and there is no short solution to get funding for them to register so that they can do the training, because it's plus minus 18 to 20,000 rand for the training for a year. So that is my question. Where does the employer stand with those employees that are not registered for various reasons that we all are aware of?
Okay, Rian. Are you then done?
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you then. Acting.
Thanks, Program Director. Again, allow me to start with Rian's clarity-seeking question and go up in terms of the questions. Now, colleagues, last year we held a webinar on the sunset clause in relation to the provision that is affecting child and youth care workers who do not meet the requirements as far as the qualification is concerned. And we really appreciate the issues that colleagues are raising today. Some of these issues are new, I must say, which it assists us to really gather this information and make informed decision in terms of how we can assist. Now, Rian, in terms of those who are affected, the law says they must stop from practicing. That is what the law says. However, Mayor Mabonzi says, no, colleagues, we need to engage as stakeholders and see how we can assist people who are affected. And also the colleague from GEM project also indicated that we can encourage people to approach the health and welfare center. And earlier on, I said, colleagues, can we have a list of all child and youth care workers, those who are registered, duly registered, and those who are not registered, who have never registered at all, or those who got registered at child care workers at auxiliary level and are affected. They need to go and obtain a qualification, but they do not have funds, so that we can sit as the council and the board to look into this particular issue. Because what we did, the 1,700 number that we said is affected by the sunset clause, colleagues, we did not start by deregistering those people. We wrote them letters, notice of intention to deregister them, and say, please provide the reasons why your name should not be removed from the register. So Liz says no. We've been complying and we've paid on several occasions. Now people have been deregistered. Liz, if that is true, that there's a person who has been complying but has been deregistered, that deregistration is erroneous, it's wrong. That person should not be deregistered. However, for us to get into these issues, colleagues, there's a reason why I left my email address there, because these are certain issues that need to be attended to by the Office of the Registrar and Registrations Division. So kindly use our email address, forward us all these issues so that we can attend to them. Those which require council and board resolutions, we will have to make submission to those relevant structures of council to go and secure resolutions. So that is my plea, colleagues. At this point in time, the law says if you do not meet the minimum requirements for registrations, you must be deregistered. However, you are given compelling reasons, and these reasons are beyond council in terms of what our mandate is. So our plea is send the list of the people who are affected so that we can make an informed decision as to who amongst the relevant stakeholders will be responsible for approaching organizations like the Health and Welfare Sector to say, from the funding side and from the training side, what is it that we can that can be done? So that is the appeal that I'm making, colleagues, as far as all the challenges relating to the registrations of child and care workers at auxiliary level. So that's my plea. Then the colleagues Bongile raised an issue around social auxiliary workers who applied for registration, and it appears they cannot go through. Again, colleagues, this is a registration issue. Kindly send the email so that we attend to that particular issue as a query as far as registration is concerned. Then colleague raised issue of incomplete training, which was offered by the National Department of Social Development, and learners are currently in limbo. And there's a module that is outstanding. I think we said module 4. Again, colleague Impo, can you send an email so that we attend to that particular issue? Because I have a follow-up question as to how did it happen that the learners are left in limbo? Why was the training process not reached its logical conclusion? But we can't engage on that issue now. Send an email to me or the registrations manager or the registration secretary so that we can make a follow-up on that issue and advise as to how we can take this matter forward. We had a meeting last year on the 8th of December with several training providers, and the issue of social auxiliary workers, it appears is affecting many social auxiliary workers. We are trying to have a meeting with the QCTO and Health and Welfare Sector to assist, to ensure that we assist affected students as far as NQF level 4 qualification is concerned. So kindly send us an email so that we package all these issues and convene meetings with the relevant stakeholders and take these issues forward. So Liz, I've tried to respond to your issue to say if indeed a person was complying by paying all the relevant fees, but they were deregistered as part of the sunset provision, that raises what you call erroneous deregistration. That person should not be deregistered. But however, I'm appealing to you, please forward us the list so that we inquire with the registrations division as to why were those people deregistered, and they will provide an explanation. And if the explanation is not legally defendable, then we must correct the people who have been deregistered and put them back on the register and communicate with them accordingly. But please note, colleagues, like I've said, part of these workshops is to empower you in terms of what rights do we have as stakeholders. So in the event council one takes a decision to refuse to register a person, and their reasons for refusal are not valid or they can be challenged, you have the right as an applicant to file an appeal in terms of Section 25. The same applies if council removes your name from the register for whatever reason, and you find that the reason is not valid, can be challenged. You have the right to appeal that particular decision. The same applies if we refuse to restore your name into the register and you remain aggrieved by the decision, colleagues. You have the right to take that decision for an appeal. So you shouldn't wait and accept certain decisions which you can feel that they are not correct. You do have the right to take the counsel on in terms of the decision that we are making. There are students who have completed their degrees but struggling to release their results. How can counsel assist? Because I want to believe is those who cannot. We'll have a category of those who cannot access their academic records because they are having outstanding fees with certain universities, or that those who manage to access their results, but they do not have the registration fee and the annual fee. Now, currently, colleagues, the regulations on fees payable by social service professionals only makes provision to exempt people who are registered and are unable to pay the annual fee from paying the annual fee for a specific financial year. So the regulations currently, they are silent in terms of a person who does not have money to pay the registration fee. So my advice is that, again, colleague, please send us the list of those affected students who cannot access their results or who have accessed their results but they do not have the money to pay the registration fee and the annual fee, so that we can take that information and send it in a form of a submission to the structures of council, so that council can take decision as to whether we can exempt those people or what can be done. So that's my appeal, colleagues. Don't leave the matter here at the webinar. Send us the details so that we can do proper submissions to the structures of council. Now, colleague Mabotse, I agree with you that as stakeholders, we need to come together and ensure that we do not, our processes do not lead to job losses. But however, this is the reality, colleagues. When we're dealing with the over 1,700 child care workers who are affected, we found that in fact, there are those who actually, they say they do not have interest anymore to practice as child and youth care workers. We also found that there are those who have left the profession actual of child and youth care work long time ago, but they did not inform us. So the number of 1,700 colleagues is not all of them, not all of them are, we find them working. There are those who are not working, but they did not inform us. So the numbers differ in terms of those who are in the system working and those who have just left years back, but because they did not pay their annual fees and we did not touch them at that particular point in time. Now we have the capacity to correct information on our register so that that's why we're engaging them one by one. And some of the people who've provided their reasons, like I've indicated, they say they are no longer interested in practicing child and youth care work. They are amenable to them being deregistered. But there are those who say, can you give us time? We are in the middle of the training, and we said, yes, we can allow you, but register as student child and youth care workers. And there are those who did not respond altogether, colleagues. And unfortunately, we are using the contact details which are on the register. So there are those who did not respond within the time frame that we've given to them. The law says we must go ahead with the deregistration. But if you know any person who is working and affected by the sunset clause, as far as deregistration is concerned, my appeal is that forward the list so that we can see how we can assist those people. GEMMEC project, we really appreciate the information that we have shared with the sector that we need to liaise with the health and welfare sector. So that is part of our responsibility. However, that is subject to us colleagues receiving the list, because it may not help for us to in this webinar saying there are people affected on the ground, but we don't have the list, so that because we need to go build a case with the health and welfare sector and even the National Department of Social Development, and even at the level of board and council. For us to be able to build a case, please provide us with the list. And here's the other issue, colleagues, that we with regard to the CYC sector, which I find it sometimes difficult to understand. The whole of last year and even the past years, we hear colleagues saying they do not have money to pay the annual fees. Last year we issued, and even the previous year, we issued a general notice. Even board members and council members, they are aware, a general notice to say those who are unable to pay the annual fees, either because they are unemployed in the main, please apply for exemption. We were assessing the exemption application second week of January. I think there are over 100 or so. Of those over 100 applications for exemption that we've received, none is coming from CYC sector, colleagues. None of the child and youth care workers who are unemployed, they have applied for an exemption so that we can exempt them from paying the annual fee for the 2024-2025 financial year. So that is I'm just raising this concern to say we hear that there's a problem on the ground as far as the affordability is concerned to pay the annual fee. Now, there are regulations in place which can allow people to be exempted from paying the annual fee because they are unemployed. Actually, there are 3 reasons why a person may be exempted from paying the annual fee. One, the first one is those who are over the age of 65. So if you are over the age of 65 and you are still registered with us, you can be exempted from paying the annual fee if you have reached the age of 65 by the 1st of January this year. So if you reach that age after the 1st of January, you only qualify for exemption next year. That's the first category. The second category of people who may be exempted is those who are unemployed and are not working. And from where I'm sitting, colleagues, I'm saying if there's still people who are still in that situation, please do late application. I know registrations division will fight with me, however, we'll have to do it. We'll find a way to manage it. But when you do a late application, please provide reasons as to why late application. So somebody might say, I was not aware of this provision for exemption and those kind of things, but you need to provide valid reasons as to why are you applying, are you doing late application for exemption because closing date was the 30th of November last year. So it's just my appeal so that we attend to this issue, colleagues, of both the registration fee and also the annual fee. But with the annual fee, at least the law is clear, there is an exemption. Then the third category of people who qualify for an exemption is those who are experiencing ill health and cannot continue working. So you do submit to apply and submit the relevant documents. So this information is on our website, colleagues. You can access the general notices that we've issued so that you apply for an exemption. The fourth category is those ones who will qualify for what we call partial exemption, which is 50%. Colleagues who are no longer practicing as child and youth care workers, social auxiliary workers, or social workers, but they still want to remain on the register. So that person can apply and you will qualify for what you call 50% exemption. So if you are a social worker, you're supposed to pay 500, you will only pay 200, 250 as far as the annual fee is concerned. So those are the 4 categories, colleagues. So at least if we take an opportunity of the exemption provision, it addresses 50% of our problem as far as monies are concerned, colleagues, then we know we remain with those who do not have money to pay the registration fees. We all know that we're only remaining with the problems of those who do not have monies to pay the studies as far as the child and youth care work qualification is concerned. We take those issues back to the structures of council, we deliberate and come back to you in terms of the resolutions of council, because remember the registrar can't do anything, colleagues. The registrar and secretary, they can only implement what the council structures have resolved on. But we are the link between you and council. That is why we're having this kind of webinar. So give us information, we submit, we do proper reports or quality reports, we submit them to the structures of council, they resolve and we implement what they will have resolved on. My students have to register every year No, student is once off registration. You register once off, you pay the registration fee. It's once off, you don't have to pay the annual fee for over the 4 years if you are studying social work. It's once off payment, it's once off registration. I tried to register last year and had already paid. The system rejected me. And at that time, the annual fee, registration fee was lesser than what is prescribed now. Must I top up the fee paid already? Then because you are not registered yet, it will be advisable that you top up that particular annual fee. But my advice, colleague, is that can you please send an email to the registrations manager? I saw her in the chat bar. She populated her email address. Please send her an email including your ID number, so that before you can make the payment or to top up the payment that we've already made, they advise you accordingly to check actually what is the problem. Was the problem with you with outstanding documents which will be responsible, or the problem was the system? Because if the problem was the system, council must take responsibility for your delayed registration. Therefore, chances that registration will make a decision to say you should not pay, should not top up the money. So please send an email to the registrations manager, then they will advise you accordingly. The Marietta colleague raised 3 questions. Program director only captured the first 2. Do we have a list of unemployed child and youth care workers available? We do not have the accurate one. It's only ones there and there people are submitting, but I know most associations, including NSCCW, will have that particular list, but we do not have the accurate one. It's those isolated lists where a person will say I'm unemployed and so forth. But it's linked the concern that I've raised to say colleagues are saying they are unemployed, they are unable to pay the annual fee. But when it's time for them to apply for an exemption, they do not take opportunity of that particular provision. So we're advising you, colleagues, please apply for an exemption so that we can go through your application. And if you meet the requirements, you will be exempted from paying the current annual fee. Do we have a list of CPD training available as far as child and care work is concerned? The acting ETD manager is in this platform. I want to believe that we do have an updated list of CPD training, list of CPD accredited training available, but she can also comment towards the end of this session. I missed the 3rd question from Marietta, program director. I think she was talking about registrations of social auxiliary workers. My apologies on that one. Thanks.
Thank you, acting. Marietta, can you provide your 3rd question?
Hi, I just quickly want to clarify something. When our learners want to register after they have completed their course and they receive their certificates, one of the requirements are the HWCTA certificate. This is now for NKF level 4, as well as the statement of results, the qualification title from HWCTA. But then they also have to submit the CIFA statement of results that is issued by the SDP. I just want to understand why that is necessary, because, for instance, the level 4 qualification is done by HWCTA, and only they give the verification and finally declare the learner competent. Thank you.
Thank you, Marike. Can we have my Hayes Care? My Hayes Care Me. There was a hand raised by your organization.
Good
Can
morning.
you hear me?
My name is Yanni. How are you?
I'm struggling to hear you.
Let me just see why.
All right. You can then speak.
Good day. I just have 2 questions here. One is, how will we know that we are deregistrated? Do we need to, I'm talking about my colleagues now, do we need to send a email, or are you going to resend letters? And my second question is, if I already received my practice card, does it mean I'm not deregistrated? I'm still registrated.
Okay. I've had one. You are asking if you've received your practice card, does it mean that you're still registered? And the second,
I did. Sorry, I can't hear you. Just say again, please.
I was trying to summarize what you've said. And I am saying I had the latter question that you were presenting to say, if you have received your practice card, does it mean that you are not deregistered? That was the last one that I had. And
That's
then
correct, yes.
The second one, you asked that are you still gonna receive some letters indicating or confirming that you are deregistered?
Some of my colleagues are deregistrated. They're not sure if they are deregistrated. So I just want to know, how will they know that they are deregistrated?
Okay. Is that the two questions that you have?
Yes, please. Thank you.
All right, then, my Hayes. We will respond to your questions. Thank you. I think then acting after this, we're gonna go to the chat box and try and provide guidance to the questions and concerns that have been raised there. Over to you, acting.
Thanks, Program Director. And I don't want Marika to repeat. Please respond to it after. To seem as if we're not respecting her. But I captured the last two questions because network is poor on my side as well. How do we know that a person is deregistered? So generally what will happen is that if you go to on the website, there's a tab where you can find a person, verify whether a person is list is not updated. So the best way, in particular with the CYC, as far as the sunset clause is concerned, my advice is that please, colleagues, can you submit a list of child and youth care workers in your employment so that we can verify with them as to whether they are still in good standing or not, and see how we website, find the register tab, then punch in the person's registration number. It will indicate the person's registration status. However, it might find that it's not up to date as far as that person is concerned. Please, the other option is to send the list to the registration manager. They will verify, do proper verification, and give you an answer as far as that person's registration status is concerned. Now, if one is received a practice card, does it mean that a person is still registered? That is true, because you will not receive a practice card if you have not paid the annual fees, and secondly, if you are owing historical fees, unless if the person who was processing the payment made an error. Or cancel monies as far as other historical fees, but you managed to get a practice card for the current financial year. Please come forward so that we can see how we correct that particular issue, because you were not supposed to receive a practice card. But the principle is that only those who are in good standing as far as annual fees are concerned, they have not been which is what currently colleagues have been doing since last year, December, and now they are continuing issuing the practice card. But however, if you know that you are owing counsel, please come forward so that we can correct that particular situation. Then, Program Director, thanks. Take Ms. Marieta's question.
Acting.
Ms. Malamba?
Were you done presenting? I lost you there for some minutes.
Yes, I was saying I've captured the to kindly attend to Ms. Marita's question regarding, she was talking something about social auxiliary workers registration.
Okay. Miss Marite or Mareta, because there's Marti and there's
Yes.
Mareta. What was your question so that we can assist you?
I just want to be able to assist our learners that need to register now as auxiliary social workers. When they are requested to upload their documents, they upload the HWCTA certificate together with the qualification title from HWCTA. But then they also are requested to upload the CIFA statement of results. And according to us, the CIFA statement of results is only an internal document because the HWCTA commands the qualification and they declare the final competence and issue the certificates. So I just want to clarify what the reason is for the CIFA statement of results.
Thank you so much, Ms. Mareta. It's Kutela this side from Registration Division. The statement of results is part of our prerequisite as per our regulation. This is to prove that indeed this particular student was studying to this particular institution, and these are the modules. Remember, some people, they can fake and just bring a certificate that is not authentic. So we need to have this certificate, statement of results from a training institution to prove that indeed this person was studying towards a child worker or social auxiliary worker with Abraham Clan. And remember, those statement of results are the ones that are taken to HWCTA so that they can be accredited to be given a diploma, that certificate, and a qualification title. So in a case whereby you are giving us the HWCTA certificate and a qualification title, we need also a statement of results in order for us to prove that indeed this person was training with this particular training institution. I hope you are answered, and thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Malongo. I understand.
Thank you. Can we have Sis Betty, acting ETD manager, to clarify the CPD points?
Thank you, Program Director. The CPD points, we upload them on the website. Anyone who would like to get any training providers and CPD points, they can visit our website. Thank you.
Thank you. Acting, we are now going to move to the chat boxes so that then we can provide some guidance as well on that. Tandabantu Ndamase has asked, are institutions and service providers mandated to vet students? And then Randy has further asked this question, and I think she was answered. Good day. Please advise if there is a manual that we can share with students with the steps to register online. Also confirm, what is the deadline for students to register? We pay the registration fee in bulk for all our students. Can they attach the POP? Also, most students struggle with submitting their original academic records because of outstanding fees. Okay, this one is the challenge. We are breaking colleague and we can't hear you. And then Zuzulwazi Development. Good day. Kindly advise if the conditional certificates for student social auxiliary workers are still issued, nor printed in the case whereby students have registered online. Nkosinati Mkonto. I like to know for the CYCW whom have trained, also registered during training and never received their certificate from HWCTA. Are they still okay? Are they still need to register as students? And they also need to pay annually. And then Tanya, I think this was the advice presented by GEMMEC Projects. And thank you to this advice and the information sharing, Gem, because you've even provided the telephone number for you to assist the colleagues as well. Mabunzi. Then Kosinati further asks, what are the documents they need from the student whom they have trained long time ago? Then, okay, I think they've also answered in terms of Tanda, which says institutions and service providers have to vet. Then there's an answer there. Domfigile Margaret. In addition, a registrar can head with relevant motivations be approached by training institutions to assist with the training of CYCWs. The sector needs to address this. Training is indeed expensive. Let's apply our minds, the education and training sector, and the relevant board. Right. Smokey asked the question, and I think he was answered. And then Liz repeated her question as well, and I think she was also clarified. Sbongile has also raised the question of an SAW who struggle, and each and every time she's told that she is owing. And then Nkosinati Fera says the challenge the students are having in terms of registration is that some they wait for a long period for their certificate, and some of them they were registered while they were in their organization and they can't be reached now. Okay. And then there's Bongiwe who says, please, SACSSP, the child and youth care workers have completed their training with Abram Grill as a training institution. They have the results. Of course, no certificate due to HWCTA. Please help registering these candidates and help sort the problem. They have paid registration services with SACSSP. Can we pause their acting and guide on the answers to the ones that we've already read? But I think some of them you've already responded to them. So the ones that maybe they haven't been responded to.
Thanks. I thought registrations division will proceed with tackling those questions because they are registrations related. Thanks.
Oh, okay. But then all right. Where were we? The SAW for 800 Rand, I think that the response was very clear. That can the colleague send us the email so that then we can investigate and assist the registrant who is affected by this. Then Gosinati, the challenge the students are having. Okay, with this one as well, where the challenge is that the students are waiting for a long period of their certificate, and some of them were registered while they were in their organization and they can't be reached now. It is a humble request to the participants in this webinar that please, as and when there is a change in your professional aspect of life, can you inform council as well? Be it in the form of studying, work, and other that might have a potential of affecting your registration with council. We humbly request that we are updated so that then communication can reach the registrants timeously. So, and in terms of the students taking so long to get their certificate, I think we are all aware that the neuron system that we are using, the online registration system, it's still new and it's still posing some challenges. It's a thing that we are not proud of, and we are hoping that with time, we will continue, as we are continuously engaging with them, we are hoping that with time, the issue will be addressed and will be able to issue some certificates on time. We are indeed working tirelessly on that process. Some of the certificates have been amended as they had to be corrected, and some of them are there on the portals. As and when a person receive the message that the certificate registration or his registration has been approved, they can check. If not, then they can contact us so that then we can assist them to be able to render their practicums in a legit way. They should contact us. We are willing to assist as far as we can, and if also challenges are further persisting, I'm trying to talk to the issue of IT. Most of the issues that we are facing as challenges are IT related, and we are dependent on a third party to also work with us to address some of the issues. And unfortunately, on that note, we do take some time in coming back as for the mere fact that the issue, we are relying on somebody to assist us in completing the registration process. However, we are optimistic that with time, the matter will be resolved. And we're hopingly that we are not going to frustrate the sector further, because as and when we are struggling with that, we need to have a plan, as the acting registrar have alluded to, that a plan needs to be there to assist our registrant going further. Right, I'm also trying to respond to. Right, I think this one, Tandabantu, extracted from the General Notice 8 of 2023, in view of the continuous call from unemployed social service professions regarding the payment of annual fees, Council recommended amendments to the regulations to exempt unemployed social service professionals from the payment of annual fees. I think the acting did talk to this, and yeah, acting. He even opened a cycle for late applications to be submitted. We want to believe that we are in this relationship together with the sector. So for the child youth care workers, because from the questions that we've noted, we have seen that the plight is coming strongly from the category of child and youth care workers. We will allow applications to come through so that then they can be processed, and then responses can be given to the affected child youth care workers, those that are affected by unemployment, because that was the effort that Council has embarked on to assist our SSPs that are affected by the unemployment rate. And we will also further
Carlos, stop looking me up and down, looking like Bobby Brown when he wasn't too legit.
Between the affected and Council. We have also provided our
I don't want to beat. I don't need
myself as the registration
rapping against
manager,
you just ain't fair.
and
Sometimes when I look
the
at you at the
secretary
same
for the
time, I
division,
feel like I'm seeing her
including
hair.
the acting
It's too much red for me.
registrar,
Why
for
do I
all
say it?
communications
Because Jess
to be
boots look like they
submitted
went
to
with your
us.
jacket, but you
And
said
we are
fillet
also
it.
pleading with the sector
I'm in the bucket.
to say,
Conceded, I'm tired of you with these chains because for some reason they
can we
just
try
don't cut it.
and limit
Hey,
our
little man, is that
communication
Mr. T? No, it's a
to the
moon man,
direct
somewhere
people?
you'll never be.
We are
It's a
openly sending
stage.
our
A
email
stage of
addresses
big.
so that we
Carlos,
can
stop looking me up and
effectively
down, looking like
assist.
Bobby Brown when he
Why
wasn't too
we are
legit.
requesting
Man,
this is because, colleagues, one would get an email that is addressed to 10 or more of the secretariat that email stands not to be responded to, as it would have been sent, number one, to either the incorrect division, not the relevant division, or it's a lot that has been quoted there. So to minimize this
You
and have
fucked off.
proper management of registrants' queries, we humbly request that we forward our questions to the relevant people so that then we can be assisted.
When do you take
timeously.
responsibility for your actions? You had the
Why
shot.
do some
was in that
unknown
position at
users-
one point.
You were the
Unknown
guy.
users say,
You were
why
set up to
do
be the
some of the
star. You didn't
CYC
show up to
get
work.
cancelled
You
receipt and
fucked off
others
promo
not?
shoots.
I
You
am
fucked off your promo
representing
fucking
AFN welfare.
trips
The
that they
care
had
workers
set up for
completed
you.
the training
You
in
became a
October
risk to the
2023.
studios, which is why the
Colleagues,
studios stopped fucking with you.
Why was he a risk?
He chose drugs.
Oh, okay.
Take responsibility.
The truth doesn't need to be scared of the fact that people tell lies. Cats on drugs. Where are the stories? Why is there no story of anybody who ever sold a drug to me, did a drug with me, was around me when I was inebriated? I got 5 daughters. I got 5 sons. Why would we tell these ridiculous stories? Because it's competition.
Hence,
When do
are
you
not
take
getting, the council receipt on time? And there might be also issues that their funds are not yet allocated if they have paid their fees, their annual fees on time. And another one is that there might be some queries on their registration status. So we humbly plead as well for those that are affected that did not receive their council receipt to establish or to start communicating with us so that the reasons can be proffered to them and they are well informed of their status as well. I think that covers the answer. It is not like that we are selecting people. We are working on people profiles as and when we receive an inquiry. And as and when we check, we find that you have been duly registered, you are not owing council, there are no queries about your profile, you would be receiving your council receipt, which is your practice card. Can we get the email address to send our emails to for our registered or unregistered SP Masters Hitlers? This has been done already. The secretary has forwarded our email address. And then Liz, do you have a list? The acting registrar has responded to this. Roselle, I also have a lot of issues with the online registration, but I would just like to thank the following people for always helping me. Ms. Msimango, Ms. Bembe, and Ms. Jacobet Mutsipe. I really appreciate your assistance. Thank you, Ms. Roselle, for the acknowledgement. And as we are saying, colleagues, the online system still presents some challenges. However, we are available as the Secretariat, Registration Secretariat, to ensure that we assist where possibly where we can. And with some other organizations, we've also assisted as and when they're sending their list to us, because we find that some of them, it's not an individual, but it's almost the whole organization that is affected. With those, we would either have a meeting with them. It has happened, acting registrar and to the registrants as well. We would have a meeting with them where they will come with the documents that they're having, and then we see how best we can assist them. The last organization we assisted, we also contacted HWCTA on their behalf to fast track the process so that then they can be registered. So this is to say to the registrants that are or participants in this webinar that SACSSP Registrations Division Secretariat is available to assist where they can, especially with processes that are administratively, to fast track the registration and then it can be completed. But where there are other dependencies, we will normally acknowledge and indicate that the matter has to be referred to another department that is also waiting for an external to assist and complete. Though we apologize that the process is taking too long, we are hoping that there will be changes. Busisiwe had to leave. Okay, she wanted to engage more on the process for international students who want to do field work in SA through our institution. And unfortunately, she had to leave because if she had presented her her issue, we would fully advise or guide on the processes. But nonetheless, as the acting registrar has indicated, Busisiwe, you can go to our website and check on the processes. If not, kindly send us an email so that then we can communicate directly with you in terms of your comments or your concern. Okay, good day. If a student forgot or lose their login details for the online system, who can they contact for assistance? Yeah, I think colleagues, contact us, the registration, so that then we can see how best we liaise with IT on your behalf, so that then you can be assisted. Asandile, Ms. Mbali, and Mr. Stephen Riba, thank you so much. Thank you, Asandile, for such comments. They are encouraging us to keep on working hard. Okay, Mpoplaki. Daily Bread has provided the list of unregistered, not trained workers following the SACSSP webinar, urging us to comply and take steps even if we have challenges in order to assist the sector, but you have responded not positively and not assisted us. We will though resubmit our list again following the advice similar to the one we acted upon by SACSSP. Simple. We might have responded negatively at that point in time, because as and when we receive the list and challenges there, we try by all means to follow what the regulations are saying. So we do not come with responses ourselves, but we try and assist our registrants as per the requirement of our regulations and the Act itself. You can resubmit, then perhaps we will engage further with yourself and even the acting registrar to see how best we can assist, especially when matters of registrations are concerned. We are really willing, amenable to work with each and every organization that is affected. So what we need to say, I'm further responding to the email that says, please look out for our list again, which we had submitted as Daily Bread, CYC, to which you responded not positively. So please work with us. We are so willing to work with each and every affected organization. So we are also open to that. Can colleagues submit their list, and then we will take it forward as per the advice of the acting registrar. That has brought us to the end of all the chat box questions. I think so, acting registrar. With that said, can I check, is there anyone who feels that she needs to say something as well before we move to the next item on the agenda? Non-acting registrar. We are then now moving to the presentations of resolutions and way forward. We have summarized 4 way forward from this webinar today. The webinar for regulations relating to registrations by SSPs in the category of students, both child youth care work and social work categories. The first one is the sector needs to continuously use these platforms that SACSSP is providing, as they are a platform to empower the stakeholders by knowing their rights. And from this one, we had a resolution that said from this webinar that we will allow the late applications from child youth care workers to address the unemployment issue, which is the exemption, that we will allow the late applications for exemption from child youth care workers, as in the first batch that we received from the 1st of November to the 31st of November, we did not receive any application coming from the category of child youth care workers. So from this webinar, we are agreeing that we will allow the late applications, and registrants must submit the application late for it to be considered. Then the second resolution is saying training providers to provide a list of child youth care workers that are affected by the deregistration so that SACSSP can make an informed decision in terms of the process, because we have acted on resolutions submitted to us by the council. The last one is saying there should be coordination of stakeholders to address the child youth care work problems. It has been reported that the child youth care work category is it's finding itself in serious problems that would then have a potential of affecting their registration. So a coordination will be appreciated by people that are working within the sector, and even that employers of the category itself. Those are the 4 acting registrar that we have captured from the site. Acting?
That's correct, Program Director. But from our side, we just want to thank the colleagues who managed to attend this webinar and for raising all this issue. It gives us an indication as to where are the gaps and how can we attend to the gaps, but also to appreciate their response, the manner that they've responded in terms of complying with the payment of the annual fees. Just to record that over 19,000 social service professionals paid their annual fees by the 30th of December last year. And we really appreciate that. We know there are still those who still get used to the new system of paying by the 1st of January. They might have missed the deadline. Please know that there is still opportunities still open. Please make the payment this week, next week, but please do not wait until end of March, because it's going to create a huge backlog for us. So you'll understand why at this point in time, there might be those who receive their practice cards and others not. Is because of the huge number that have responded. The colleagues are working hard in the office to ensure that everyone receives his or practice card before end of the 1st March this year. And those who will pay late will have to be patient until such time that we get to your name. But safe to say that colleagues should not rush the practice cards, colleagues, for 2024-2025 financial year, because your current practice card is still valid until end of March. So where you do not receive it by now, you are looking for it and you want to apply for a job, you can still use the current one which we issued to you last year. But however, we really appreciate and looking forward to future engagement on other items so that we can improve our services to you as our key stakeholders. Thanks, Program Director.
Thank you, Acting Registrar. With that said, we will now give Ms. Ngebe to do the vote of thanks.
Thank you so much, Program Director. To our honorable board members that might have attended this webinar, to the HOD of the higher learning institutions, the training institutions, NPOs, and our respected SSPs, acting registrar, SACSSP secretariat, and other external stakeholders. We would like to send the word of gratitude for attending this webinar. Your views and contributions has made this webinar to be a success. And we want to believe that from this point, we'll have, after this informative webinar, we'll have a lot of SSPs who will be able to be registered timeously in numbers. as per Section 19(1) of the Social Service Professions Act 110 of 1978. Thank you so much for making this webinar a success by your attendance. Thank you so much.
Dear registrants, this has brought us to the end of our webinar for today. Thank you very much for your patience. Your participation it's welcomed with I do not want to repeat what Ms. Nkebe has said, but it is opening our eyes in some of the issues that are affecting that has a potential of affecting your registration with SACSSP. But nonetheless, your participant means a lot to us. We are hoping that from this webinar, we will be able to take our issues of registrations and improve the SACSSP registration in relation to your different categories. So thank you once more for attending. We shall see one another as and when we're doing those outreaches. Don't forget your dates. We are addressing the issue of accessibility as well and visibility by us, by SACSSP. So thank you very much for your patience.